All right, welcome, friends and Stunt Hangar fans. Good evening to everybody. It is Monday, June 15th, 2020, and welcome to the Hangouts. We'll hang out, talk about aeromodeling till at least midnight or so, and welcome anybody that wants to come in with their camera and microphone. The link is posted in the At the Bench thread on the Stunt Hangar control line forums, which you have to be a member of and logged in under your member name to be able to access it. And it's on stunthangar.com on the same page as the open forums, but you have to scroll down below the open forums and look for the section that says live streams, and there will be a thread called At the Bench, and the first post in it will be tonight's, and it'll have today's date in the title, so you'll know that's the one. Open that, click the link, and drop right in. For those of you that don't want to do that or aren't members of Stunt Hangar, you can watch it live on YouTube on the Stunt Hangar YouTube channel. There you have a text chat box that you can communicate with us, and I'll apply any relevant comments into the conversation over here, or you can chat amongst yourselves. There's also a donation button called a super chat, little black $sign underneath where you type in your text. And if you click on that, you can donate some walking around money to Sparky to pay for server fees and all the things that it takes for him to keep the show on the air and live and free. So what we do is talk about aeromodeling or anything related to that, whatever you like to do in your shop with tools, screwdrivers, saws, and hammers. And everybody's welcome. We try to stay on topic. This is the no news is good news zone, so keep it family friendly. Try not to cuss too much and say anything you wouldn't say in front of your 7-year-old in your family room. And getting gasping expressions from some of my thankfully quiet guests who have already joined me with their cameras. But that's about it. Just behave yourself. Let's talk airplanes, and it's time to have a show. Okay, Trey, you got the stage. What's going on, buddy?
Not much.
And Gary Sinclair's out there too, with his camera turned off. It looks like.
No, it's on.
So I'm back here. I'm back to work, I guess. I went yesterday and I flew a little bit. I was just I was looking at the weather map, and there was my house, the flying field, and in between them there was this big dark cloud of rain, right? So I'm driving over there through the rain. I'm getting over there on the other side of the rain. Yeah, buddy. I had to wait it out a little bit, but it was a little bit wet, but I had 3 batteries charged, so I had to go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's what you call a scattered shower. It, sometimes in the summertime it rains in your front yard and doesn't rain a bit in your backyard. I remember
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, I lived in a developing neighborhood and there were no fences, just rows of houses up and down the street, and we could see the rain coming, and we'd try to race it home before it got to us, and sometimes it would be 10 feet behind us, and we'd be hauling ass fast as we can and try to beat it to the house. Sometimes we would, and sometimes we wouldn't.
Good old times, huh?
Yeah, man.
Good
Yeah, we had
old times.
lots of kids in my neighborhood, bicycles, dogs, and kids. And hey, Trey, and if you get to making too much sanding and sawing noises, be sure and mute your mic while you're doing that, and you can
Okay.
click it on to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that goes for everybody, not just you. And hey, Bill Cole's here too, and Eddie Sutter
Hi,
just
Rusty.
popped in. So we're developing a pretty good crowd. How's everybody tonight? Hope y'all had a good
It's been
weekend.
windy where I live, and it's supposed to be windy for the next few days.
It's strange weather here, man. It's cool. I'm not sure it got over 75 degrees today, and I went outside after supper just to sit out there and get some fresh air for a little bit, and it was too dang chilly just sitting there in my t-shirt. I had to come back inside, and that's odd for June. Usually, the last couple of weeks of June and the first week of July is where we string about 1,500 degree plus days together, but it's not doing the usual pattern this year. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bill, what do you expect? I mean, just this is how I know I have time to go fly. The time is available, the plane is ready to fly, and everything is good to go, right? When that happens, it's raining outside, or it's windy as heck, right? So anytime you have a good plane ready to go fly and stuff like that, expect windy weather. Bad
Yeah.
weather usually.
it's windy more than it's not here. If you're going to fly, you just got to get used to flying in the wind, especially at the flying fields where you've got a wide open space for the wind to just build up with nothing to slow it down at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just yeah. So after I flew yesterday, very little, not much. Anyways, I discovered one thing. The arrow is fine. The Indian needs work.
Say that again. I didn't understand exactly what you said. The airframe is good.
No, I said the arrow. The arrows are fine. The Indian needs work.
Yeah, that's often the case, I find too.
The arrow is far better than the Indian can ever do.
Yeah, I'm afraid that'll always be the case here too.
Oh man. Yeah. So
Rusty, I was looking at your YouTube info.
Yeah.
And you said that you didn't try loops until you were like 50 years old.
what?
Yeah, actually later than that. Late 50s,
Holy
mid to late 50s, yeah.
What took you so long?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You know what? I never, ever, for that long, since I was 12, had anybody to fly with. Never saw anybody else fly an airplane. And so I did, climbs and dives and kind of, I got upside down a few times and, managed to right the plane and all. And it was mostly just me flying while my friends threw rocks and stuff at it, and I'd dive at them, and dogs would come, chase the plane on the ground and stuff, and I just kind of piddled with it, and then it was later on when I realized, these things should be capable of doing more than this, and all the instructions from Goldberg had that little slip in it showing you how to fly loops, and I never paid much attention to that. And so one day I started trying to do it and started doing figure nines and had no idea what to do to solve that problem except for I must need more speed. So I started, and I also didn't know anything about prop pitch or any of that stuff, what effects the prop length had on the engine. And I mean, I knew enough to know that a longer prop would slow the engine and a shorter prop would make it run faster. But so I started trying to add speed to the equation, but I was still doing the maneuver that I call yank and hope, where you pull full up and hope the damn thing goes all the way around. And if it didn't, then I must need more speed. So I ended up having planes that would fly 90 miles an hour. These were all half A. I also didn't know there was anything bigger than half A out there. And I finally, when I started getting on the forums looking for parts and realized there was a lot of people doing this stuff, and they were flying much different, bigger, better planes than me. And talking about aerodynamics, I actually started thinking about what I was doing. So there you go. That's the story of how I started flying loops and things like that. So yeah, I'm fairly new at all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
You
I
was
thought you knew how to fly the pattern.
talking about
What's that?
flying the half A's, and you didn't know there's bigger planes out there. When I went to fly with Lonky and all them, I took my shoestring out there, and I thought it was a big plane until I put it beside that Strega, and
Yeah. Oh boy, that's
all of a sudden mine turned into a half A.
yeah. My
And look,
my first larger plane was also a shoestring, and it was because when I built my baby flight street and took it over to the churchyard across the street, I flew it on longer lines because it was so fast, and I started clipping the tips off of the oak trees that lined the field, and I thought, well, I've outgrown this. I need to find me a club field, and I called up, or I went to the website for Jackson Flyers that night. The president, Jim Mallett, called me Sunday morning. Actually, woke me up about 9 o'clock, and he said, "Rusty, come on out." And so I did, and I got out there, and it's an RC club, but but they loved watching us fly control line. It just fascinated the hell out of them. By then, I was doing loops and stuff. You get a baby flight streak, you can't not fly loops, and so by then I was starting to advance a bit, and I had a baby flight streak, and might have built a little Satan by then, and I had a couple of older. I had my Stuntman 23 and some of my older wooden planes like the Musiano Little Devil, both of which I had beat to death with figure nines. But so that exposed me. There was a guy that decided I needed to fly something bigger and feel the pull on it. So he said, "You need to fly my shoestring." So I'm like, what the hell's a shoestring? You can imagine what I had in my head. Just some funny looking thing. And so we met up out there, and he was flying it. He wanted to fly it first, and he let go of the handle, and the plane took off and crashed in the grass and broke all to pieces. And he was all pissed, and he took the motor and the tank off of it and gave me the crumpled remains, and I took it home and rebuilt it eventually. And that was the plane I flew beginner with. And that little shoestring flew a lot like a half A because it had too small of control horns, and it was really twitchy. So I was kind of right at home with that, but I was flying loops the size of a beach ball.
oh yeah,
And that didn't, so it took me a while. Wayne helped straighten me out, but I'm sure I frustrated him to death.
mine. We got out there. I hadn't flown in 20 years until I met them out there in 2009, and took that shoestring out there, and I'm doing loops and inverted and all that. Well, I get brave and try the square 8, and for some reason that plane I've crashed it twice trying to do an outside square. Let's see, it's when you come down out of it and you're going straight to the ground, and then you go inverted.
That's outside square.
Yeah.
Yeah, the outside square. For some reason, both times it's just lost air, and just I just flopped it right on the ground, ripped the tail off of it and everything. So it just don't like now. It'll go straight and fast and do everything, but it does not like squares.
Yeah, when I fly my shoestring now, I don't try to fly patterns with it. It just won't fly a pretty pattern, but it will do all of the stunts.
Yeah.
Inverted outside squares and Oh, but just
It'll
gosh,
do
there's no way I can get any points with it.
It'll do a perfect D.
That's the one I was flying when I did my stooge line video, when the stooge line got wrapped around my ankles and tied my shoes together. And I got a copyright infraction when I put the Wilbury Twist and the Hokey Pokey music to the comedic action. Thing is, if you watch it on a telephone, it's too small. You can't really tell that I'm getting wrapped up with a line. I just look like a moron out there with my ankles together. But on big screen, you can tell what is actually happening.
Don't
So
worry,
speaking of
Russ.
stooge,
I had the same exact thing happen to me. The same thing.
I hate to say it, but I've had it happen more than once.
I remember I was out at the flying field. And I said, "Okay, I got everything set up." And my mistake was I used some sort of kite string to connect to the stooge. So I'm sitting there and I yank on it, and it didn't release. I yank on it again, still doesn't release. Give it a really, reach in and you yank on it. The pin flies out of the stooge and all the line comes flying back at you. The plane takes off. Next thing, like you said, I noticed I'm going around in circles and this kite string is wrapping further and further and further.
Yeah, your feet are getting closer together.
And I can't, of course, you can't stop flying the airplane. The airplane's going around for about 5 or 6 minutes. By the time the fuel runs out, I mean, I could barely move, and I was like all by myself at the flying field. There was nobody else there. And my flight box is way 65 feet in the other direction. So here I am like an inchworm, inching my way back to my flight box to cut myself free.
Why am I thinking like those Bean movies, Mr. Bean movies?
Yeah, slapstick comedy. That's slapstick comedy. I didn't have enough sense to fly backwards. I could have gone around and around the other way, but I didn't. For some reason, didn't think of that.
No, I don't. Who does?
Hey, so much for being safe and using a stooge, huh?
So Rusty, it appeared that you had a really small table and with the stooge on it for your half A. I mean, you were launching.
That's right. Yeah, that's a bath mat on top of it, and then I put a bungee cord on it, and then I'd take a brick just to weight that down. But I would align the bungee cord along the angle of the trail edge of the wing, and that would keep the plane from rotating while I was walking to the handle, and then I'd pick the handle up and just step back and ease it out until it came free, and then I'm off. If it was an underpowered plane, I would bungee that little table to the top of a bar stool, and that way it would have more room to fall before it climbed out. But things like the Flight Streak and the Little Satan, they'd just take straight to the air as soon as the wing was free, and you don't have to yank it loose or anything. And I put the rubber side in and the cloth side out. And when the rubber side gets good and greasy with castor, it works even better.
The stooge that I was using, it was a 40 FSR powered profile. So I ultimately had to yank on that thing pretty hard to get it to release.
No, I didn't want to have to yank it, but like I said, once it got greasy, it slid right out with no problem. And I would throw a white rag on the ground at a distance from the stooge table that was clean and free, so that I didn't fly back into the stooge table.
Yeah, that's what I did last time. It's just I went out flying and I
forgot exactly. That's what I was thinking.
The center of the circle, and what a genius!
Yeah.
But it's like you can think about it as something positive, because I got to change everything I didn't want to have anymore. So and now it's far better than before. So yeah.
It's always a good opportunity for improvement, both on your playing and on your techniques.
Especially if not forgetting to spot your center of your circle anymore.
Absolutely, yeah.
Boy, do we learn everything the hard way, or do we learn the hard way?
I
Yeah, the
learn
hard way.
everything the hard way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you go that back in the day when flying fields used to be rather crowded, and I remember being a couple of times going out to the middle of the circle and picking up the wrong handle.
Probably one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was that paint is heavy, and I had no idea. Yeah, I didn't even give it a second thought when I first started painting airplanes. I just sprayed that stuff on like crazy until it got good and glossy, and no such thing as too much. But I learned fairly quickly, especially after I got on the forums, how much I was crippling my planes with paint.
So what I'm building here, I'm building um, the elevator on my new scratch build vector, I guess.
Yeah, you had a lot of the elevator built the other night, if I recall.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty much
Maybe you
finished
just
that
had
night.
it.
This one, yeah,
That's the one. Yeah.
yeah. So it's very solid, good torsional rigidity. I don't think I'm gonna have any problems with that ever.
Are you building out of a box, or are you just going by plans, or how are you doing that plane?
50-50.
Yeah.
Rusty, I was thinking about why we fly our planes the way we do. Because I was just thinking I'd follow the lines out to my handle and I tried to keep them straight. Well, the back line gives you the up, so I put it as a grab it, like this.
Yep.
This is your up line. So when you're learning like that, so you just automatically start. Never even thought about turning it the other way because I didn't want my lines
That's right.
twisted. I want them
It
straight.
just seemed to be. Yeah, it just seemed to be the natural way to do it.
Yeah.
Some planes do have the upline in front, but this depends on which side of the elevator the rod goes to.
Yeah.
Like my Yuki was reversed, and that I always had to be careful. But I always do an elevator up down check while it's on the ground before I take off. It's just a habit that I can't stop now. It's like putting the seatbelt on in the car. I just don't take off without doing a visual elevator check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I flew my Stuntman 23 again, the electric. I moved the battery ahead a little bit, and then I reduced the throw, and it flew a lot much better. It wasn't so sensitive because it seems like, and that was with my other electric, with the CG is back too far. It's like it's hunting. It's just constantly going up and down a little bit. It seems there must be kind of like that sweet spot, if you get it too far ahead, then it'll be hard to stun it in that. But if it's too far back, you're.
I mean, Bill,
I usually I like to adjust it so that I move it back until it hunts, and then adjust it until it just stops hunting, and that usually comes out about right for me.
Okay.
There's one thing you might find out is that as the CG goes forward, I mean, you don't change anything on a plane. Just move the CG forward. You're going to find out that the plane is going to start to have better line tension. Okay. So as you move forward, but you lose some of the turn. So the trick to it is to find the sweet spot. I mean, just like, I mean, a balance between enough line tension and just a good flying characteristics. So what can I say? That's what I found out. Recently. I was lacking line tension. I moved my battery forward to move the CG forward, because I noticed that in the last session, as I was testing different positions for the batteries for the different CGs, the more forward the battery was, the more forward the CG, the better the line tension. And obviously, you can take some of it out by the lead out position as you adjust them. So there was, a little something there, right? And we just learn about it. What can I say?
Yeah, it's a compromise between the CG and the lead out position.
Yeah, I think get it forward. I mean, first you have, if the CG is too far back, you have the hunting, right? So as you move forward, the hunting disappears, right? Now you have maximum corner, but maybe the line tension is kind of light, so you may want to push it forward a little bit more. Make sure you still have the enough turning ability. Now, if you don't have enough turning ability, then you probably move it too far forward. So I'd say get rid of a hunting and keep moving it forward as long as you have the turning ability. If you run out of that, back it off a little bit. And I think that's a good, very, very good, solid starting point.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to hunt, it's going to track nicely and have good turn and have good best line tension. It's kind of like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. How many of you seen Paul Walker's trim chart?
I did, yeah.
I've looked through it before. Yeah, it's a pretty detailed flow chart.
It is, and in it he discusses exactly what you guys are talking about. Exactly.
So, John, you want to see how I incorporate the carbon fiber into my elevator?
Yeah.
The other day. So what I do, let me take this out. So this is something that I'm working on right now, and actually I'm doing it right now. I just put these 3 pieces of bolt.
Doing that. Y'all tell me if my present button is working. Did I just make him big for everybody?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you see this?
Yeah.
So I'm making this, and then in between them, I put a carbon fiber tube.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the tube is being sandwiched between everything, and it takes care of the torsional part of it, right?
Now, is your thread on the bias, or is it how's your?
This is unidirectional. Is not the perfect for the job. It's not the perfect piece for the job. If you want to get the perfect piece for the job, you have to have some of that biaxial sleeving that goes around, and it wraps around the tube like that at 45 degrees.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it uses the strands in a direction in which you need the torsional resistance, right?
Right.
This is unidirectional. However, this unidirectional carbon fiber tube is stiff enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
It's stiffer than the balsa.
Yeah. It's not ideal. It's by far not ideal, right? If you want to use the perfect thing for the perfect job, if that's what your goal is, this is not ideal, right? But it gets the job done.
It's enough.
More than enough. More than enough. Yeah. So that's that. And I'm not sure if you can see it. You can probably let me see. Let me take this out. Can you see this here?
Yeah.
You see the tube there?
Yeah.
Yeah, good picture. Yeah.
So we just embed it in there. So the rest of the build is just normal. The rest is balsa. I'm gonna, trim it, taper it, and stuff like that. And that's it.
Are you using any flat unidirectional on the trailing edge of the elevator in there?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I don't need it. So
Okay.
so let's explain what I did here previously, right?
All right.
I want this elevator to be stiff in this direction, right?
Right.
So in order to do that, I put on a leading edge. I put on a trailing edge and on a leading edge that carbon fiber strip that goes on top and a bottom, right? So that takes care for that direction. Then I want to get good torsional rigidity, right? So what I've done on each cap strip, I put top and bottom of it. So that gave me torsional rigidity, right?
Right.
So you put it where you need it and in a direction in which you need it to do the work, basically. If it makes sense?
Yeah. Right? Now how thick is that unidirectional flat stuff?
This is 100 grams per square meter weight, and it is about 3/1000 of an inch thick.
Okay, nice and thin, but strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can get that from Easy Composites for like $15 for a square meter. It's probably going to last you forever.
Probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And what I do is, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Can you see that on the floor?
Not very clearly.
I have a cutting board over there. With a straight edge. I just cut strips out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all there's to it. And it comes in the material comes in a pre-preg. It's already nice and uniform. All the strands are perfectly straight and nice. All you have to do is just make sure you keep the strands straight when you lay it out, and you cut in the left direction. So you keep all the strands, and all the strands go in the same direction.
Okay.
And that's how they do it. They work together, and they give you the benefit of whatever you're trying to do there. So that's
whenever I go to Staples, I stop and look at those slicing boards. I've always wanted one.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, they are.
They are really, really great. So, a good thing to have. Probably every modeler should have one.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a builder. So yeah. And I also kind of got lucky with this because the Broda kit comes with this 1/8 inch, quarter inch width slot for the control horn wire.
Right.
And I'm gonna take this, and since this is quarter of an inch as well, I'm just gonna glue it right in position, and kind of works out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now let me say something else here, right? If you really, I think this works out because I was hacking it up with what I have in a house, right? But there's a better way to do this, and a much easier way. Okay? And that way you can do it by using something like this. Just use a little bit larger tube, a little bit larger diameter, and you want to so think about the tube. Where does it provide you strength? They provide you strength in this direction and torsional at the same time, right?
Right.
Okay. So this is all you need. Okay? This tube is all you need. So you cut your ribs with profile, airfoiled ribs, whatever you want to do, right? And put a hole through them. String the tube through them as a main spar, and you can go from one end to the other one, right? And for the trailing edge, you can use a 1/8 inch strip of balsa wood. You just glue it on the back side of it. And on the leading edge, you can use that molded, like I make the molded sheet, right? And put it around the leading edge. And now if you have those standoffs for the ribs, like when you cut your ribs, you cut them with the standoffs, so you can glue them right on top of the table directly in position.
Right.
I mean, you can build a horizontal like in 15 minutes.
Does
Seriously.
the CA stick to that too good?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Very nicely, quite. Yeah, very nicely. So you can, if you need to build a horizontal, just take the ribs and just slide them on, all of them, right? Kind of spread them out in position. Put the first one, the root rib or the two tip ribs, and just glue them right on the top of the table, right in position. Reposition every single one, the rest of them. You can even glue them in place on the front and the back, right? So now you have all the ribs nice horizontal and they stay nicely. The two bits inside, hit every single one, put a trailing edge, put that molded leading edge, done deal. You have an elevator.
I've done something similar to that, not as nice as what you did there, but I've done that where I've had I wanted to have a really lightweight elevator, and I've used the carbon tube, you know, at the, you know, to stiffen it up, and it works, you know.
Yeah, yeah. If you use the tube for a spar, then you're done.
Yeah.
It's also torsional, gives you an incredible amount of torsional rigidity.
That somewhat, though, would be depending on the glue joint on those ribs, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a nice fit and a nice glue joint from the tube to the rib, now the ribs are torsion. The tube is giving the ribs the torsional rigidity.
Right.
If the ribs are hollowed and weakened and stuff like that, then, well,
yeah,
you might want to use a little bit harder balsa for that. But think about like a few, 5, 6, 7 ribs that are so tiny, so thin, made out of harder balsa. They're not that heavy.
No. That you could also use slightly smaller diameter carbon rods and put 2 of them in there. One, you know. One
No, just you're adding weight for no reason whatsoever.
Really? Okay.
Use the biggest carbon fiber rod that you can get away with. Okay, and pretty much go from tip to tip.
Okay.
And
Makes sense.
That's it. And think about this. It doesn't matter where you put the tube. You can be pretty close to the trailing edge too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of in the middle, towards the backside at the root, and on the tips is going to be kind of closer to the leading edge.
Where can you get that?
Well, you can get it from anywhere. I mean, it's just like you carbon fiber tubes. You can just you can find it just about anywhere.
Yeah, you can get it
search.
Yeah, that's something every hobby shop I've ever been to has.
Yeah, and if you really want to buy in bulk or something like that, a Loft Hobbies has a lot of that for very little money.
Is that the kite maker?
No. That's Kite Shoppy, I think it's called.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I know they've got it too, relatively.
Yeah, that's the best stuff for kites.
Yeah. So I think a 6 millimeter, it's about 1/4 of an inch thickness. About a 6 millimeter with a 5 millimeter ID, that gives you 1/2 millimeter, which is 19 thousandths wall thickness, right? It's perfect for the elevator. And I'm not sure, but I think this is it right here. I may be looking at it. Let me grab some kind of a. Yeah, this is 6, and I'm going high tech here.
You don't have a number bead?
Yeah, this is 6 with a 5. It's a 6 millimeter tube with a 5 ID, and it. Okay. Just for your information here, it's about 13.5 grams, but you're not using the whole thing, right?
Right.
That's a meter long, right? So you're probably going to use just maybe 30 centimeters per side, so 60 centimeters. So you're using less than 10 grams worth of carbon. But the rest of it, I don't think it should weigh more than 5-6 grams rest of balsa or something. So you took about 15-gram piece for the elevator that's finished.
It's not bad.
I don't think it's bad. Yeah.
You wind up. You probably wind up with 2.5 ounce stab and elevator.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can use the molded balsa on the leading edge, and the tube is going to be in the center. You have a bunch of straight ribs, and you can also do this. You can do the cap strips or whatever you choose to do. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I know some guys that actually form that trailing edge of the stab around a piece of square stock. And they'll form it just like you did your leading edge, and they'll put that on there, and they'll just put balsa wood where they're going to have the hinges go in. And so they get it's strong, it's torsion, it resists torque because of the shape. And there's all kinds of fun things you do. Myself, my personal preference, if I was to be doing that type of stab, and I'm thinking I might, but I like to have a little sharper on the leading edge of the stab, just a little sharper entry. Just because of Fitzgerald's and his study on the wings or the stabs and elevators, showing that he got better tracking with it, slightly pointed.
I don't know. I don't remember that article, but I think his conclusion from that particular article was that you want some kind of airfoil on the stab.
Yeah.
If you have a stab, airfoil stab, it's the best of all worlds, best tracking, stuff like that. I don't remember him saying anything about the shape of the stab.
Well, they actually wound up on a round one like that. They wound up gluing on a turbolator at the very center, on the very front of that, to get that sharper entry, that separation a little earlier.
Is the elevator included in that airfoil shape, or is it just flat with the stab shaped with airfoil?
You can do anything with it. I mean, just whatever shape you want to have in there. If you want airfoil, you can put airfoil in it.
Rusty, the airfoil, you can do it. There's other people that hardly put a piece of sandpaper to stab an elevator. If it's a 1/4 inch thick, it's a 1/4 inch thick from front to the back. Just slightly radiused edges on the front, square on the back. All kinds of things will work.
Yeah.
Some work a little better than others.
Yeah. You know what I've done with the
Some
elevator?
you can hardly tell the difference.
Yeah.
What I've done in the past to make a light elevator, and what I've done, I made a mold, okay? And the mold was just a block of balsa wood, and I put an angle to it, a taper, right? And then I think it's best if I so what I had is just I have a top and a bottom with a 1/8 inch balsa stock in between them, so kind of spacing them out, right? But it was tapered like this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so what I would do, I would cut the shape of my elevator, and I would just slide it all the way to the back, right? So they're kind of like this. And I made triangular pieces that would just wedge them open, right? And I would insert them inside, ting, 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 just put them, at some intervals, right? And then I would just hold this vertical, the mold like that, and just let the CA wick in there on all the ribs. And then I took a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch piece of balsa on the front of it, and you just kind of bring this front like this, and you just glue it on top of it. and you just slide it out, and you have an elevator. There's no
That'll do it.
trailing edge, nothing like that. Just 2 sheets of balsa that they have the triangular pieces in between them, and it's pretty rigid, pretty nice.
Yep.
Works out. So, yeah, and I've done stuff. I did it for other things. So
I'm going to switch to grid view. Y'all tell me if everybody goes to grid view when I do that, or is it just me?
I'm already
Everybody
there.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all like it better like that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Normal stuff.
I have to switch it back every time somebody gets the big screen, but in between, if I remember, I'll try to keep it on grid view. Now that I can control the focus to whoever's showing something and present it large to everyone, sometimes I'm out of practice. I might forget to drop them back to their normal size, so y'all let me know if I get stuck on somebody and need to put it back to the smaller view.
Peter's got the
there you go.
elevators that Gordon designed for the Pathfinder LE there in his hand.
So you see the tube in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a tube over there, and the rest is just normal build.
Yeah.
Now I have to obviously I have to shape this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of works out because this is 1/8 inch wide. The centerpiece in here is 1/8 inch. Like I have a 1/8 inch piece, and now 1/16 on top and the bottom. So I put a little piece of 1/16 under the trailing edge here. So I elevate it at 1/16. So it's a line in the center. All I have to do is just blend it in a little bit. And this thing, it's actually half of the horizontal, and it's 7 grams, not even that 6. Let me see. Yeah, about 6.
Now Tran, I got to where I would put one single little hole in each one of those ribs because I was covering with Monaco, and that would allow the air to move back and forth and move out, on the gas pressure. So you didn't get that stuffed melon thing where when it straightened down again, it loosened up.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it so many different ways here.
Hey, Charles. How you doing tonight, bud?
Hey, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Hey,
We're
you look
good.
good, Charles.
Charles
We dropped right into aeromodeling tonight without having to go through a bunch of strenuous, forceful adjustments in our conversation.
That's good. Hey, Tryon, I was looking at your, I guess that's an elevator.
Yeah.
Is that a round carbon fiber tube behind the leading edge? I couldn't tell with the.
Yep. I was explaining that earlier.
I'll watch the rewind. I'll just watch it later on.
Stiffens up the torsional resistance to torsional twist.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean,
I
because
can see it just looking at it.
It's for what we need.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And worst case scenario, if it twists equally on both sides because the tube has the same torsional rigidity. So if it will ever flex, it will flex equally on both sides.
Yeah, it works in more than one direction for stiffening. It's really good.
Yeah. So, and another thing that I've done here is that I kept this front here about 1/4 inch wide. So it's going to be about 1/4 inch from the back side to the front when I'm done with it. So I have just wood, so I can slide in my hinges that I like to use, those Kevlar hinges. So the idea is just to cover with monocoat, whatever, something, some kind of covering, and then I'm going to slit the leading edge and insert those hinges inside, and just slide it on the back of the elevator and just call it a day. Just something simple like that is really not complex or something that's unachievable. I think anybody can
Right.
do this stuff. So that's
I
the
have
idea.
I have a set of plans from Dave Fitzgerald's Thundergazer on the leading edge of the stab. The leading edge was carbon fiber, and I forgot if it was a triangular or if it was a round piece of carbon fiber that was glued to the leading edge of the stab, and on the trailing edge of the elevators.
I have no clue what they use over there. You probably have to talk to them.
Yeah.
But what I find out is that sometimes you have a plane that has issues. Maybe it does very nice loops, but when you try to do a corner or something like that, something just it does something crazy or something like that.
Right.
And you go like, man, it flies so nice in the loops, and just as soon as I try to do a corner, it wants to roll in this direction and it rolls in the opposite direction, and it's just all over the place, right? And you go like, what the heck is going on? That's control surfaces that flex a lot. And as they flex, one flex is more than the other one, and then they have like having an aileron control in it, and especially in hard maneuvers when you ask a lot of them, right?
When you're standing on the ground watching somebody fly, you can really see a drastic twist in the whole rear fuselage and the empennage when they make a turn too.
Yeah, I mean, you just this kind of thing
on profiles you see it. Yeah.
So the elevator.
You also see this in relation to the trail edge of the wing and the stabilizer too. You twist in opposite directions. And it's surprising how much the profile's the worst about it. I don't know about full fuselage is not as bad, but yeah, what you're doing would be a great thing to do on a profile plane.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't worry about it so much. If you've ever been on a real jet aircraft and watched the wings, how far up and down they flex.
Oh, they flap like a bird. The first time I ever flew on a plane, it was a 727, and we're rolling down the runway, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm thinking, this thing really flies? And yeah, because the wings are just flapping like a bird.
Yeah, but they're designed to flex.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. If we have flex in our wing, especially this way, it's horrible for us. Think about it. It's like when you do a loop, inside a loop, the wing wants to do this. So what does it do? It kind of rolls it in towards you, right? Because the inboard is going to stay straight and the outboard is going to do this in a loop. So it wants to fly towards you. Or, this is what happened to me. I went to the nets and I had this take-apart system. And one of the spark connector pieces was not glued perfectly. It was kind of loose. And I was like, man, what's going on with this plane? It just flies like it's an RC plane. As soon as I try to do a loop or something, it was very, very light on the lines, right? And I said, what the heck is going on? So I asked, what's his name? Richard Oliver to look at it. And then it goes like, hey, stop. Just cut it out. Don't do anything. Just fly it off and land it. And they showed me after that, hey, your wing is flexing. Something is wrong over there. Sure thing. When I looked at it, it was just loose in that spot. So we went back to the hotel room. We glued it. We lock it in rigid. And guess what? The plane was just beautiful after that.
I had the same thing happen with my ARF Oriental, and Bob Zambelli spotted it, and we were at his house and across the street in his field, and we took it over to his shop, and that's where he taught me how to scab a spar back together by cutting a trench in it and packing it full of twisted up carbon tow and CA, and it worked perfectly. It was a great lesson I learned from him. I also learned from him not to be afraid to get the knife out and just cut out inside of that canopy and toss it aside and go to work. I used to be so careful and scared I was going to ruin everything. Bob gets that knife out and just goes to town with it. And I found out how to take it and get serious with it.
Rusty, you was talking about getting on that jet. The first time I came home from Hawaii in the Navy, flew a 747.
I've always wanted to fly on one of those.
And that the wing was out over a DC-10. You know, DC-10 was parked underneath it, and I'm like, "Dad, gum, this thing's huge."
It's huge. It's got no.
And like you said, when we was taking off down the runway, those wings were just sitting there. I'm going, "Well, hell, this son of a bitch flies like a bird." You know, that's why. You know, and when it took off, it smoothed out. And I always get, no matter when I fly or where I fly, I always get a wing seat. I always like the wing seat.
Yep.
I like watching the flaps and the elevator, ailerons and all that.
Yeah, I like watching all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking these wings are going to break. And when we got in the air and everything, and I'm having to get down in my seat and look out because you could not see the wingtips. It had so much of a bend to it.
Oh, really?
Because they, you know, it's just that's just the way they're designed to fly. But
yeah,
I'm like you, man. Those things, I thought this thing's gonna fly like a bird. When I flew home that year, I flew from Honolulu to San Fran, from San Fran to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minneapolis to Nashville. And then when I went back, I went from Nashville to Minneapolis and straight from Minneapolis to Honolulu. I'm like, my God, I went back in time. It only took me 2 hours to get to Honolulu.
Yep.
You know, because it's like a 6-hour flight.
Yeah, it's kind of designed.
I've never flown on a plane like that.
Yeah, it was.
I think the biggest plane I've ever flown on was an L-1011 TriStar.
Are they even flying those anymore?
I don't think so. Or DC-10s. They're not flying DC-10s anymore either, are they?
No.
Yeah, they were, notorious for the worst accidents.
Yeah, the damn thing had like an angle of attack when a freaking angle of what you would call a climb. Damn things were like used to take off. They were like this.
They flew tail down, huh?
No, it just had, to get to cruising altitude, the damn things were like almost a missile.
Yeah, they took off like military jets.
Yep.
As soon as the wheels left the ground, they stuck the nose in the air and took off.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
they burn a third of their fuel taking off.
That's when you know if your cargo's been properly secured.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
There's a picture of a transport plane in Afghanistan whose load shifted while he was taking off like that, and it did not turn out well.
Yep.
It all goes to the rear, man. You're riding a wheelie all the way there.
Yes.
Well, you know what it's like to fly your stunt ship when it's tail heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you were just talking about the CG location on the plane.
You end up flying like a biswab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got this Goldberg Buster ready to fly again. It's from my childhood, and it's got a Fox 35 on it. And I put a prime in it, and flipped it over, and it ran that out. But, I don't know how well it's going to draw. But what could I get for a replacement engine that would have a muffler?
Rodex 25.
What?
There you go. Here's your Buster.
Could you put a LA-25 on that, couldn't you?
Yep.
Or an FP-25.
Any good 25 could go on there. Or a 20 even.
If rule of thumb is any replacement for a Fox 35 with a modern engine is a good 25, a FP or a LA-25.
One that'll surprise you, Rusty, is you can get them from Macoa. and that's a KNB 28.
Really?
Yep.
Put your Brodak 40 on it.
A KNB 28. I used to fly a heavy franchise twister. I'm talking about 44, 45 ounce on a KNB 25. Flew it like a champ. That's really a powerful little engine. And
where did you find that much weight to put on a franchise twister?
I was in a hurry.
Nah.
And hey, I'll tell you what, I won contests with that sucker, you know. But when I got a chance to take my time and build one right, I got rid of it. But anyway, back to the KNB 25. They're very quiet. They've got a very good muffler on them. You don't have problems with the neighbors if you're running the muffler. You can run a tongue muffler if you want. What I liked about it, I built a full fuselage version of plane I call the Twister Sister, and it was basically a full-body franchise twister. I put a 1/4-inch firewall in there, and because the KNB 28 has a setup that comes out that's mounted. It'll mount to the back plate. It has these four arms that come out, and you just mount it. And I twist it down so that I could center line my muffler down the under center line of the airplane. Very versatile little engine.
Mm-hmm. Here you go.
Yep.
So I've got a junior ringmaster kit also, and I've got a Vico 19. It's got a muffler, but it's an RC version. But wouldn't that be a good engine for that plane?
Yeah. Vico 19s will surprise you.
So what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna put some medium over here. And I'm going to hold it nice and flat on the table. I'm going to use those pins over there so I can just go forward and down.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't have to be perfect because all of this is going to be trimmed out and stuff like that. So there you go. So now I'm just going to put them on a flat table, just make sure it's pretty nice and flat and stuff like that. So there you go.
Yeah. Looks good.
There it is, yeah.
And now I have to just sand it off nice and flat, put some thin C on both sides, so it's going to wake around and glue everything together. And this is like the torsional member. And the rest, I mean, I'm not really worried about the flex in this direction. It's just torsional. It's just an elevator. Because
yeah, that's not going to let it flex in that direction anyway. So.
Yeah, because that's from the it's going to get this from the stabilizer, right?
Right. Yeah, that'll hold it.
Yep. So put it where you need it and how you need it, right? If you need if you need strength in a certain direction, that you lay it out in that direction. Okay? That's the trick to it. That's why the veil has no value. Or very little value, anyways.
Right.
So, I think when you put veil in between the two sheets of balsa, you get more strength from the glue that holds the two things together than the veil itself.
Yeah, and that adds weight too. So yeah, I think you're right about the veil.
So guys, here's a question for you. I'm trying to figure out. I've got an engine that I picked up 10 years ago. It's a brand new PAW 35. Now, a PAW 35 will start a 14-inch prop without any problem. The diesel's got a lot more torque. And I'm trying to decide if I want to build a plane for it. And I'm pretty well convinced that it probably will have to be a 51 or 60 size. We're probably looking at 600, 650 360 square inches minimum for that engine. Any ideas?
Mother Tucker.
Well, I'm trying to figure out a plane or that to build for a PAW 35, a diesel.
Diesel.
I don't know nothing about diesel.
You know, I usually when it comes to design something like that, I'm just looking at the prop size.
Well,
if you put a 10-inch prop,
14-inch.
what are the planes with 10-inch props would have? Like
It'll turn a 14-inch prop.
Oh my God! Yeah,
As a diesel,
so
a diesel got the power.
Yeah. So I don't know.
What you got there, Peter?
No, a 14-inch prop. Yeah, I mean, what kind of landing gear are you going to put on that thing?
Well, I don't have
looks
to run
silly.
I don't have to run a 14-inch prop. I can run a 13 three-blade.
What kind of prop you got there, Peter?
This is a Magic carbon fiber. It's a 12.5 by 4 from Randy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Beautiful propeller.
Oh, Meslick?
That's a nice prop.
Yeah, it better be. It's $40.
That's not unreasonable for a carbon fiber prop.
No, it's
Is that somebody handmade that prop?
I'm used to spending, back in the day, less than $1 for a top flight.
Well, yeah, top flight, Pen 6, 95 cents, 75 cents.
Super M, no less,
I was looking at Zor prop. They make a wood 3-blade, beautiful thing, 14-inch, and but it's $40 for a wood one.
Oh no! Yeah, get a carbon one.
I know, but I'm just pointing out that props are much more expensive these days.
Yeah.
Mike Leinke's got a suggestion. He says, tell Bill a Vico 19 is too big for a junior ringmaster. It needs a OSFP or LA 15. It'll be super nose heavy with a 19. And he says, John's right about K&B 28. We run quite a few of them on Sam's planes.
Yeah,
you used to run Fox 15 on them.
Thank you, Mike.
That's back in the day.
Hey, speaking of kits, I bought some. I ain't got them yet. I bought some blueprints. I bought Al Rabe's Bearcat blueprints.
Wow.
And I'm assuming he's a good designer. I don't know. I've seen a lot of his planes. Jack Sheeks. Anybody that sound familiar?
I know the name from Stunt Hangar.
They are difficult to build.
Because I got
Jack Sheeks.
Yeah.
No,
I just bought 15 blueprints, all warbirds. So I like the warbirds. They may not fly worth a shit, but I'm gonna build them anyway.
A lot of Jack Sheek's airplanes were I-beam wings, and those are not exactly the easiest things to build.
Al Rabe's warbirds fly very well.
Eddie just got a nickel in the swear jar.
Who did?
I noticed that our last show was not demonetized. It's all in the green, so we're doing good.
Al Rabe won. I think he won the Nats 1 year with his designs.
I think it was a Bearcat.
Yeah, and he's got the Mustang, the Mustang. He did the what's that British Tempest?
Snaggletooth.
The what?
It was called a Snaggletooth.
That was his Mustang.
Yep.
Yeah.
Snaggletooth, like Snaggletooth the lion?
Yep, Snaggletooth.
Watch that video if you can find it on YouTube, man. That thing flies like it's just computerized.
Well, you know, you should read the story behind how he designed that. I mean, he built a contraption to mount on the hood of his car so he could test airfoils. He'd drive down the road at 55, 60 miles an hour, testing his airfoils out. and his airfoil on his Mustangs and his Bearcats, that they were not truly symmetrical airfoils. He figured that since you were only flying upside down just through a couple of the maneuvers, that he would optimize it more for the inside maneuvers, if I remember the story correctly. Anyway,
don't you fly kind of equal stuff everywhere? Reverse swing overs both sides, and loops are both sides, squares both sides. Triangle is the only one that's on the only one side.
Well, he whatever he did, he was successful with it, Tran.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah,
and he, you know, I'm trying to remember from memory what all this was, but I do know that his airfoils were not truly symmetrical. They were a little bit flat on the bottom.
Okay.
And he put a lot of time and effort. You can buy tapes from him of all his designs and the design processes he went through. It's really quite an education.
Yeah, John, I recall that he like taped wings to the front hood of his car and drove them down some runway somewhere.
He actually had a device that he could change the angle of attack on those wings, and he had a control thing. He had a little protractor thing there, and he could change the angle of attack and measure the amount of lift that he was getting. He was very thorough about what he was doing as far as designing that. And he probably had some of the best flying semi-scale, almost true scale warbirds stunt ships there ever were.
Oh, I give you that. Yes, I'm giving you that. Yeah.
But the ones I got from Jack or Jack Sheets designs is his Hurricane, the ME-109, Old Glory, Spitfire, Corsair, and the Focke-Wulf 190.
Oh, Jack Sheets was no slouch either. I mean,
no.
And then there's a couple of them on there that was from Jim Vornholt.
Jack Sheets was a friend of mine, and he did several designs that were not I-beams. But once you learned how to build an I-beam, they're actually, in my opinion, easier to build than a regular wing.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a minute. I agree
with you.
Oh,
okay. Not hard to build. Are pretty easy to build.
I'll go get. I've got Jack Sheik's Torino. It's a twin boomer. It's the one Jack Vornholt almost won the Nats with, till somebody remembered that they saw it hanging on Jack Sheik's wall. Vornholt crashed his stunt plane, his Nats plane, 2 weeks before the Nats. So he went over and Jack said, "Well, take that one there and finish it up." It was all framed up, so he covered it and finished it and flew it at the Nats. Anyway, they took away his pretty points, and so he didn't win the Nats with it. Otherwise, he would have. Let me go get that airplane.
Phil Bailey commented on something we said a few minutes ago about the Sea Fury had a semi-symmetrical airfoil.
Did it?
That's what he says.
I recall I-beam wings having so many ribs. It was like I was always intimidated by an I-beam wing. Beautiful stuff, though.
But they're easy to make. I mean, all you need is just a template. If you ever watch Billy Warburg's video on how he builds an I-beam wing, you're gonna go like, "That's it," you know. That was my reaction. That's it. And actually, I built an I-beam wing in a half-A plane, and even a 40 size plane after that. An I-beam wing. It was no big deal.
So what's an I-beam wing? I mean, I don't, it's been so long since I've built anything like that. So all I've done is just your regular standard tar and ribs on a.
Well, what's different about
profile.
building what's different about building an I-beam wing is that in typical standard wing, like say like a twister, you'd make a template for the root, a template for the tip, which are identical in a twister because it's a straight wing. But if it's a taper wing, then you have two different templates, and
Right.
you stack them, you stand it together with the ribs in block, and you make the ribs, right? So you make actual ribs, right? In I-beam, you just make like a ribs. You know,
Yeah, it's not. It's the shape of the outline of a rib, but it's not a full rib.
Okay, well that's what he's showing here on this right here. It's like just two strips.
They just look like this after you cut them. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Okay. And the way you make that is that you make a plywood template that has the exact shape of your rib, right? And then you make a wall, you put a screw on a hinge kind of thing on one end, right? It can be a pin or something like that. So your template is going to move like this, right?
Okay.
Where is it? You know, just try to. I think there's a video available somewhere on YouTube when Billy Warwich is making the I-beam wing and explains everything step by step how to do it. Basically, you have a template. You advance the piece of balsa wood upwards. You cut another rib. You pull it out. You advance the balsa upwards. You cut another rib. Pull it out. You know, and you only cut one side of it because every time you cut one side, you just actually make one rib.
Yeah,
it's simple as that.
And then you repeat the process top and bottom.
Yeah. So
go ahead, keep talking.
So instead of cutting 24 ribs, you'll actually have to cut 48.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't make any ribs.
Mike Leinke said that to tell you, you can buy a lot of those Jack Cheeks designs already laser cut in a kit form from RSM.
Cool.
Nice. Come on, John. Yeah, refinish that. Get that back in the air. That's beautiful.
Thank you. It's
what's that called?
The Torino.
Yep, that's Jack Cheeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw Torino flying at the VSC this year.
Yep. It's got that unobtainium prop on the front.
Yep.
And that paint is it's doped first, and then the color is automotive spray can.
Okay.
With clear dope over the top.
Automotive spray can, like what? Duplicolor lacquer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's models like that have you really deserve to be restored.
This got knocked off when I moved, so I got to fix that. That's really about all that has to be fixed on this.
Okay, guys, for any of you who are interested on I-beam wing, I put here in the chat box a link to the video.
Jeff Riley says there's a good video with Bill Warwich building a I-beam Aries on Stunt Hangar.
That's exactly what I put here in the chat box.
Is it? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, John.
Don't rub too much, John. It's all going to come out.
I know, but see, it's all hanging over. I got it too long on top right now.
Yeah, John, I just pulled the trigger on a Brodak Spirit of Saginaw, by the way.
Say what?
I just pulled the trigger on a Brodak Spirit of Saginaw kit.
Oh, outstanding. You'll love it.
I know I will.
Yeah, you know Dick?
Actually, I knew his mentor, which was, who was that? Not Dick, but was that Macaluso? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Macaluso, no?
Might have been.
No. Jeez. Dick got his. Who did the Magister?
Oh, you got me on that. I know the plane, but
Yeah,
can't remember.
Dick derived the Spirit of Saginaw from inspiration of the Magister. That was Sheik's.
No, the Magister. That was animation.
Hold on. I don't think so.
The Magister had the V tail on the back.
No, it was basically the same airplane, but I have to look this. Hold on. Let's see, model, where are the model plans? Series Avenger. Magnum. I guess it's not there.
Well, Peter, what engine you plan on putting on the Saginaw?
I'm gonna probably put my OS-35 Max Stunt on it, which is what belongs there.
Is that an OS-35 Max S?
Yes.
That's a good engine for it. I will probably put my Stalker 40 side exhaust on mine.
So I've got two diesel engines that somebody gave me. One's a Ed Hunter and the other one's a Weber. I don't know what I'll ever do with them, but
they're both good engines.
I think the Weber is like an 09 size, and I think the other one is like a 29.
Oh boy, good. You know, the 29 has about the power of a 40 or 45.
I've never seen a small Weber. I've seen big ones on RC planes.
Well, the Weber diesel is a whole other thing. You know, they went from 049. They were used a lot in free flight.
Oh, I wanted to ask. I forgot. What that PAW that you were talking about, is that an English engine?
Yes, it is. Efflander, I think is the manufacturer's name. They make them from half A size up to 60 size. And they're the thing, you know, I had when Davis Diesel was still, when Mr. Davis from Davis Diesel was still alive. Actually, it was back in the late 80s. I had him take an KMB 28, and I got the Davis Diesel head for the KMB 28. And he said that the rod was a little weak for a diesel on the KMB, so he sent me a new rod for it. I think it was a Super Tiger rod, and I put that in there. And that thing, I would fly that heavy. I would fly that heavy twisters on that thing with that diesel, and I didn't want to get that diesel all over the airplane because it smells. And so he told me that you can, that diesels will take to back pressure pretty good. So he talked me in it, and he says that the exhaust isn't real hot. So I used a piece of neoprene tubing. I stuck it on the back of the muffler for that KMB, and then I made the little ties underneath the fuselage. I ran it all the way to just so it's sticking out the back underneath the rudder. And I flew it that way, and it was nice and quiet. Everything was clean, and I had plenty of power to fly that heavy twister, vectorized twister, without a problem with that KMB dieselized. That's where I learned that diesel, well, you know, smaller diesel, 35 should be able to fly anything between a 40 and a 60, somewhere in there. They might be a little hurt. Now, there's the Saginaw.
No, that's the Magister. That's a Jack Sheep.
Oh, let me click on that.
I can't. It doesn't get any bigger than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're okay. Yeah, that's a profile Magister. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, this was the inspiration for Dick's Spirit of Saginaw.
Okay, that makes sense. The one I was thinking of, the Magistrate I was thinking of was then he had a Mission's red one that he campaigned. It was a beautiful airplane.
I like that V tail.
Yeah, I always liked unusual designs. They have not flown great, but the V-tail certainly sets it apart.
Well, Peter, I think
that's like me. That's like me. I'm an unusual design.
Peter, I think you're going to like that Saginaw, that Spirit of Saginaw. I think you really will.
I'm sure.
I had so much fun drawing up those plans. I had to draw them off of the magazine plan, and there was an error on the magazine plan, and Dick told me about it, so I was able to avoid putting that error onto the plans that we did, the CAD plans. So.
Oh, but by the way, that Magister plan is available on Flying Models.
Oh, okay, so that's available from AMA.
Which is, Jack did so many designs, it's hard to keep track.
Oh, he did. He had the model of the month thing going on there for a while. Every month there would be a new Sheik's design in the magazines. He was very prolific. Nice guy too, just as nice as you can imagine.
What you working on, Charles?
Oh, I'm fixing a spinner, so a picture on a prop.
Oh.
It's a plastic spinner, and just trying to get it to fit nice.
Those Great Plains plastic spinners, I think they were the Great Plains. They had a aluminum backplate, and really pretty colors on the plastic, but they had grooves inside of it that you could follow with your, actually it was raised ridges that you could follow with your X-Acto knife and cut really accurately.
Yeah, this spinner is from Hobby King. It's a pretty nice spinner. And the red matches the red on this plane. That's why I'm using it.
Yeah. Is it aluminum backplate?
No, it's all plastic. Super light.
Have any of you guys ever run a diesel?
Yeah, I never have.
Years ago. Years ago. It must have been like an 09 or something like that.
I found out.
I've heard about how bad they stink. I've always wanted to smell one just to see what it is that stinks so bad. But it seems like there's so many different variations on the diesel formula. There's probably just as wide a variation on the stinkage.
One trick to get rid of the stink is you can go down and buy kerosene for the kerosene lanterns. They've got a perfume in it so that they smell nice as they're burning in the house, and you use that for your kerosene. And so you've got that, and you got your ether, and you've got your oil. And
even K1 for space heaters probably works pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
Odor free. Doesn't have as much paraffin in it or something.
Right. But yeah, they will stink it out. I used to get my fuel from Red Max, and it ran good. It started easy. Well, I won't say that easy. Right at first it's a little hard, but it'll start real good with an electric finger,
Uh-huh.
You got to be careful you don't hydrolock them. You guys will really quickly get that stinky thing out of here.
Well, the Europeans sure like them.
Oh yeah, well those Oliver Tiger diesels, they use those in team race, and they got those. They'll fuel them, flip it one flip, and off they go.
Is that because they have a harder time than we do getting nitromethane?
No.
Well, yeah, actually, that's the basis of it. They, for years, that's why Stalkers and a lot of Eastern Bloc engines and that are designed for no nitro. It's hard for them to get the nitro. The diesels had more power, actually, than the same displacement alcohol-fired engine.
Oh, yeah, that I knew. Treyan thinks differently. What were you going to say, Treyan?
Well, I think it's just they are used for racing, and every second matters in racing, and they have to fuel it, start the engine, and if now you have a glow plug, you have to reach down in there, connect the glow plug and stuff like that to them.
No,
eliminates
they
one
got
step.
a glove. They got a glove, and on their finger and their thumb, they just hold the glow plug, and on the other side, there's a bolt there. They put their thumb on that, and they hit it one time, and away they go on a glow plug.
Okay, then why are they all diesel?
Because they're used to flying diesels. They know how to run those diesels. They got good diesels available. They've been running diesels for years. You'll find here in the States, a lot of them are running glow, and they'll have the battery strapped to their arm, that glove on their hand, and they'll catch it, literally catch it, fuel, grab it, flip. That's all it takes.
Yeah, I was watching a race on YouTube just today, and I was like, with somebody that just set the world record, and it's like 100 laps in 3 minutes or something like that.
Wow.
That's what, 3 stops or something like that.
Holy crap.
Like, holy smokes, that's fast. Or 50 laps, or whatever the race was.
Yeah.
It was a world record.
Either way, that's fast.
Yeah. You watch those team racers come in, boy, they have got the gear set up just perfectly. Everything's set up so that plane hits, and they'll usually stick to the ground. They might bounce a little if the guy brings them in too hard, but you can bring them pretty fast and they'll stick to the ground. They'll come around, the guy just catches it before it gets past him. It's amazing to watch that team race go. And the Europeans, I believe, are some of the best in the world at team race.
I was watching this little kid, about Sam's age, flying combat in a Russian combat, and I was like, holy smokes, they are so professional. I mean, those guys are fanatic. That's how professional they are. He had not one, he had 2 pit crew guys.
Really?
Right? With 2 planes. And they always go over there on a combat circle with 2 planes. And as soon as they have me there, one of the guys runs, grabs the plane, grabs the streamer off the plane, and meanwhile the other guy already gets the plane up and running. I mean, they're that organized, and I almost like the guy that has a streamer in his hand and has to put it on a backup plane. I mean, that engine is already up and running, ready for him to.
Yeah, if you want to see an example of that, I posted like the World Championship practice rounds, and the end of that video is all combat, and you can see the guy just grab the plane, slip on the streamer, boom, it's gone, it's off.
Yep. And sometimes the winning or losing is the time in the air. So whoever gets the plane faster in the air wins the match.
True. Man, that's too much pressure for me.
It's really intense. And plus the speeds those things fly at is absolutely phenomenal. It's like I can't imagine anybody being able to keep track of where their airplane is without twisting lines and then both of them to the ground. It's something to see.
I don't know how they do it.
Peter, half the time they're not even looking at their airplane; they're looking at their opponent's airplane, and they know where it is.
That's correct. They know where the plane is by where the lines are pulling. If the lines are pulling in that direction, they know where their plane is, and they watch the other guys play.
And
I don't know how they do it.
They'll go for the cut, not even looking at their plane. They're looking at their target.
And it was amazing because in that video, it was actually a woman or a young woman was flying against these guys, and she was kicking their butt. Like,
oh, I heard about her. She was gorgeous.
And John, back to your diesel question. It's a whole nother learning curve. I mean, if you're prepared to pick up a whole nother learning curve of how to set up and how to run a diesel, it turned out to be just too much for me to grasp. But I said, no, I'll go back to
Well, Peter, I'm too old to be a threat in the competition stunt. I love it. I have a ball with it, but that's why I designed and built a biplane stunner, was because I knew that I wasn't going to be like Fancher or one of those guys. They can't change their style or that because that puts them so far back, have to relearn, like you just said. And so they don't do it. They stay with the same design and little iterations, little changes here and there. But so that's why you take somebody like me. I enjoy it. I'm not that good at it, but I have fun with it, and I'm willing to try these other things. Now, maybe the reason why I haven't gone very far with it yet is because I still don't know how to trim it very well.
No, I'm talking about basically diesel motors and their idiosyncrasies. And it's like adjusting the compression and making sure the compression's right versus the needle setting and getting it to start and getting it to run properly. It's a whole, like I said, it's a whole nother learning curve.
You're absolutely right, Peter.
One thing you have to remember is if you're going to build a model for a diesel, build it knows exceptionally strong, because basically diesels run at a much higher compression ratio than your blow engines, and it's not a uncommon factor. Is if you flood one of those motors, you get what you call hydraulic lock, where the piston just got too much fuel in it, and it basically, you can't compress liquid, and you can turn around. And I've had issues where I've turned around and flooded the diesel engine and had too much compression going on, and basically turned the prop and just broke the engine right off the front of the airplane.
Yeah. Well, it isn't like I want to get the diesel and try to be competitive with it.
No.
It's just I got this really nice engine sitting there. It's brand new, and I'd like to put it on something just to fly it around with.
No, it's not that. You have to keep in the back of your mind that it's a different animal, and it really requires something, a whole different approach to, internal combustion engines and the way they're running.
I found that out.
Jack Snavely just gave us his recipe for diesel fluid. He says he uses equal parts of John Deere starting fluid, kerosene, and castor oil. Says starts easy and gets better mileage for racing.
Yep. I've heard that recipe before. If I was one to be competitive, I'd just stay with electric, But I got stalkers. I love them and I fly them. If I win something, I feel lucky. If I don't, I still had a ball.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, and I'd like to have an airplane that had that deep length, so I'd go out, stink the crowd out a bit once in a while.
Somebody has to do it.
Stinker, huh?
Yeah, it's a stinker.
No, my approach is not anywhere. I've never competed in a contest in my entire life, and it's just that my dad got this diesel engine from somewhere in Europe, and it says, okay, let's put on our airplane and see what we can do with it. And it was like, okay, and this was too much work. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had a little,
and it was too much. I found it was too much work just for casual sport flying. So.
Well, I have a little experience with the diesel with that can-be dieselized that I had or have, and so I've had a little bit, so I know a little bit about it. But there's a lot more to learn if I really want. But I'd like to have it just for flying around fun. I live so far away from the rest of the club members. I'm 150 miles away from where they are. I don't get to fly with them very often. So with me, I get to fly down here and amaze the locals.
Oh, that's a whole different order of fun. Amaze the locals.
Yeah.
Right? They've never seen a control line plane fly like.
They all think you're experts too.
Oh yeah.
Just like
It's an interesting thing is that, I recall several years ago, a buddy of mine were flying, not at a formal flying field, but we were just out at some place where that we actually could get the airplanes up in the air. And I remember these people coming over and says, "What's that? What's that? Oh, we've never seen that before." And it was like we had to explain to them that this is old school. This is the roots of model aviation. It was one of the roots of model aviation. We were doing old school stuff here, and they were duly impressed.
Do you remember the reaction you get when you pull over for a reverse wing over?
Oh yeah.
You know, I've had people go, ah!
Yeah. I was showing one of my doctors wanted to see me fly, so I took my tablet to the next appointment, and that was the first noise he made when the flight started. As I wasn't watching what he was watching. I was just sitting on the table, but he's watching. All of a sudden, he goes, "Whoa!" And that was me pulling out of the reverse wing over. It's spectacular when you do it right.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty spectacular when you do it wrong too. But
that's what really scares me, to try to learn how to do that, because if you don't pull out, it's not going to be good.
Don't try to push it, Bill.
It's difficult sometimes to get across that what we do with control line is maybe an order of magnitude a bit more difficult than what you would do with a radio control airplane, because we are never any more than 70 feet from the ground.
That's right.
Yeah, always 100th of a second from disaster, no matter where. No such thing as 2 mistakes high.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's fun flying for the locals. I've been told that there was 20 years ago, there was a man and his son that used to fly down here over at we've got the county fairgrounds over here, and they got a lot of open grassy areas there. And I may take, I've got one guy here that's got a bunch of Cub Scouts, and he wants me to fly for them, and of course the COVID came up and couldn't do that, but I'm sure once it clears up in that, why we'll go out there and do that. And I'm expecting to get some reactions like that. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. But ultimately, then it turns around and it's like, in control line or any model aviation, other than you're almost ready to fly RC electric airplanes, it requires an investment in time and skill. So that's usually the hardest obstacle or hurdle to overcome.
I got to reboot. My picture's frozen.
Yeah, it is. Bill?
Yeah.
You want to learn how to do those maneuvers, coming out 4 or 5, even 10 feet above the ground. Get yourself a combat kitten. Yep. Put a medallion or not a TD, but a baby bee or something like that on it.
Yep.
Well, get one you can fly inverted. An engine, what is that? The Dragonfly or the Golden Bee or one of those, and get out and get out in where there's tall grass.
Yeah, exactly.
And get out there and have somebody throw it in the air for you, or you can build with a combat ship. You can take have somebody cut you a wing out that's the same size and depth and that as the wing on the combat kitten, out of foam. You take that foam, you tape it together, and you set that on a chair, not a chair, but a table or whatever. And you point it up just a little bit, and then you stick your wing in there. You start your airplane, stick the wing in there, then you run out and then when you want to fly, you just pull back on it. And as soon as it pulls free, it takes off. And that's how they self-launch a combat plane.
Huh.
So
Yeah, that's exactly how I learned to fly. It was in my case, it was my dad. He'd hold on to it. We were in out of field where the grass was like almost like knee high or higher,
Yep.
and just launch it, and then you do whatever the heck you want with it. And especially if you had like a little Satan or a combat kitten that's covered in monocoat, those things are basically indestructible.
Yep.
And if you crash, you just crash. The plane never makes it to the ground. It just bounces into the weeds, and then you're ready to go again.
Yep. That's the way you do it, because they don't reach the ground like Peter said. They just, it's very hard to wreck them. I imagine if you really try, you can.
Yeah, if you really try. And then plus, those little combat jobs have way more maneuverability than they can basically do anything you want them to do. So if you want to learn how to fly a bird, you want to do loops, you want to do whatever the heck you want, those will do it, and you don't have to worry about bringing it home and gluing it back together when you're done.
Yeah, they'll do a loop inside your living room.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was it that said you do loops around a beach ball?
Yeah.
That was me talking about my shoestring. The controls were so short on the elevator. That was the size of the loops I flew the first time I flew loops with a bigger plane. I was saying I flew loops the size of a beach ball with that shoestring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Just give it full up and hope you come out in time.
Yep.
Yeah. I had finally gotten past my yanking hope days by then, though.
You learn how to not necessarily do it full up, but to fly it around that loop.
Yes.
You change your input oftentimes all the way around.
I was still doing the yanking hope, or not yanking hope so much, but they were either growing or they were winding up on me. And I'm sitting in my yard one night, and I answered a phone call from a number I didn't recognize, and it was Marvin Denny. And he proceeded to tell me how to fly it on the up leg over the top, fly it on the down leg and around the bottom, and explain to me how to just slightly tweak the inputs as I went around, and I never had trouble flying loop again. And so thank you, Marvin, up there wherever you are.
God bless you, Marvin, everywhere. Yeah.
And it was probably within a year I read a sad article in one of the magazines from his, I don't know, daughter, sister, wife, somebody said that last bit of life she saw before he finally went, before the lights finally went out, was he was taking a nap on the couch, and he was smiling and twitching his hand like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That kind of evoked a tear.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fellow who ultimately told me that I don't have to jerk it for a loop. He said, "Listen, you got all this sky up there. Why are you trying to put it in that small little spot? Take your time. Do it big, and make it working smaller."
That's
all that time before I successfully flew one. I thought it was more speed, but that was not the answer.
No.
It was my little jumping bean, which I built purposely to learn loops, that I did my first loop with, and then the baby flight streak came along, and I never looked back after that. That was one hell of a good flying plane.
Oh yeah. I did.
It was the first time I ever felt like I was flying a real airplane and control line. It's when I had that baby flight streak. It actually had a predictable glide path, and it was just such a sweet flying plane. It still is. That plane's still hanging in the shop back there, ready to flip and go.
Really?
Yeah, I had
I got one.
a Sterling Mustang was the one that I basically learned how to start doing real
Really.
sort of.
Now I've got the Yak 9, which is probably almost identical to that Mustang, but it flies like crap.
Oh
However,
yeah.
I'd never built a plane with flaps, and I wanted flaps, even though everybody told me to lock them down and don't use them. When I built the Yak 9, I built working flaps with lucky boxes and everything, and that's probably why it's so much twitchier than, or so much more sensitive than what I want. I got the tallest control horns on it I can get, and it's still not a good stunt ship at all.
Rusty, I built a Yak 9, Sterling Yak 9, to fly at VSC, an old time stunt, and I built it right out of the kit, didn't change a thing, and the thing flew crappy.
Oh yeah. So did the Mustang.
I had a Mustang and that flew a whole lot better than that Yak, and I'd seen good flying Yak, so I started trying to figure out what it was. Well, you got looking at it. It had if you use the engine thrust line as 00, it had positive incidents on the wing, and it had positive incidents on the stab and elevator, and so it did crappy outside, did really nice, fast and tight insides. And I found out that everybody already knew that about him, and they would get the kit and they'd fix that as they build it. So,
I didn't notice it because I didn't use the kit wood for the fuselage on mine. I took one look at it and tossed it, and made one out of some better balsa. So yeah. I made it 000.
Well, it makes a difference. I know when I did the CAD plan for Walter Ullman for the Sterling Spitfire, I got checking that, and I'd had friends that built that, and some of them, those that had built planes and flown them a bit, they thought it wasn't a bad flyer. Those that were less skilled and built it, just as it was, they didn't know to check this or check that. They said it was a terrible flyer. I got checking that, and again, the problem was it had all kinds of problems with the way the incidence was between the thrust line and the cord line, and it was all off. So I straightened that all out when I drew the plans for Walter's Spitfire. And quite frankly, I believe that Spitfire probably is a pretty darn good flying airplane now. I've had people tell me it is. And, it's a classic legal airplane. So I wouldn't be afraid to build one and fly it in classic.
I wonder what the Yak 9 is legal for. Is it legal for old time?
Yeah, it is.
I got the Mustang still in the box that I bought from Mike Lonke about 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't know. The Mustang was released. It was into the marketplace after the Yak 9, if I remember correctly. And so some people say it's not legal for old time. Other people say they're both designed at the same time. And so it's I can't tell you other than I know that most of the time they take the Mustang is classic legal and the Yak 9 is old time legal.
I don't know. All I ever heard about those two planes was that they were purpose built to go head to head in slow combat. So
exactly
I don't tell you anything about the year.
Exactly right. They were kind of the first. It was American aircraft and a Russian aircraft combat.
Yeah. I love my Yak 9. I put text on the front of it And I made sure I got something with a backwards R in it because I wanted it to look Russian.
Yeah.
You know, but finally I named it Rust the Nailer because my club name, initiation name, I guess, was Rusty Nail. And there's a funny story behind that is why they called me Rusty Nail anyway. But hey, now they've got a Rusty Nail award. I've got rusty train spikes on my trophy shelf back there, and the Rusty Nail stuck for a while. But my last name, Knowlton, is spelled with a K, and sometimes when I write Rusty Nail, I'll spell it with a K too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wayne Robinson's responsible for that.
Well, the interesting thing is that the wing area, the Yak has a little more wing area than the Mustang.
Oh, does it? I
Yeah.
figured. I just assumed that they were identical that way.
No, the tips are different.
Yeah.
The
Mustang would have narrow tips, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You turn around and you step back, back through decades. Yeah, the two airplanes were basically intended for slow combat. But of course, slow combat these days is a completely different animal than what it used to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's what they call speed limit now, isn't it?
Well, in those days that they came out with, you were lucky to be able to go over 85, 95 miles an hour in combat.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. I wonder if I heard Mike one time say something like, slow combat doesn't really exist anymore. That's why we've got speed limit. I could be mistaken about that.
13 grams.
Look at what Trey's got.
Any way you shape it.
13 grams for the pair.
Whether it's for competition, I'm not even thinking about competition.
Wow.
It was just so much fun to get two airplanes up in the air. Just, friendly, one-on-one, just to go at it.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings back memories because I do recall, after a while, sport flying, when you're doing sport flying, you get kind of bored of going up there and doing this or doing that. And it's like, okay, guys, let's see how many airplanes we can get in the air. Or like, let's play slow combat. And you would take whatever you brought to the field with you, stuck a streamer on it, and let's have some just fun.
On my desktop slideshow, I got pictures that change every half hour on my computer, and one of them is a broadside collision between two ringmasters flying what I guess would be slow combat, and it's a beautiful picture. It's just got shrapnel and debris flying in every direction around them. I mean, somebody did a great job with the camera that day.
And the two pilots were probably laying on the floor laughing like mad when it happened. There's certain...
Probably. Trayan, were you trying to show us your elevator?
Yeah, I was just showing you this stuff. It's like...
Yeah, let me click you up. There you go.
I just finished this. I got this far only.
You make them the same way as the stab?
Not quite.
No, different construction. I just needed I just needed torsional rigidity, so I embedded a tube here.
Oh, okay.
That's a 3mm OD with 2mm ID tube, carbon fiber that takes the torsional load and keeps the stab pretty stiff in this direction. 13 grams for the pair.
How can you hinge it? You got to cut through the tubing?
No, I don't have to, because I have a block of balsa in the front. You see that?
Oh, okay.
And that's going to be shaped, and I'm going to slit it in between them to put those Kevlar hinges in between them.
And yeah, you don't need much room for the hinge.
No, if I have a quarter of an inch, it's more than enough.
So is Mike on tonight?
And they're 13 grams for the pair.
That's not bad at all.
What'd you say, Steve? I didn't even see you come in. Did you just get here, Steve?
Yeah.
He snuck in.
He snuck in the back door.
Was Lonky on tonight or not?
He's been on YouTube.
Yeah, he wasn't on here though.
Oh,
He
okay.
was hanging from a thread with his computer a couple of nights. I think the Chromebook quit working for him, and so he might not think it's worth it to try to use it tonight. Or he's busy and checking in and out. For some reason, this chat box knows my name tonight, Rusty K, and it's never done it. It's always been Stunt Hangar before, but I probably didn't notice the other night, the first time I used Firefox. But it probably knows the difference between me and Sparky, even though I'm logged in as Sparky for the show.
Oh, Charles got his spinner going.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, Charles
Yeah, I
got
got
a
my
spinner on
spinner finally married up. So, yes.
Nice.
Took me a while. I hate doing that. That came out pretty nice.
What motor you got in it, Charles?
This is a Super Tiger 35, a stunt motor.
Oh, okay.
It's not the combat version. It's the stunt. It has the baffle and the piston.
G21.
No, it's not a G21.
So you said Thunder Tiger. I thought that was one of those OS 760 mufflers.
I thought you said Super Tiger.
He did.
Now, is that a Super Tiger or a Thunder Tiger?
Oh, did I just say Thunder Tiger a second ago?
Yeah.
I might have.
Airplane for a third.
I get them mixed up when I'm talking. I know the difference, though.
No.
What is that big plastic crate back there? It looks like it's full of malted milk balls or something.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
I think, Charles.
Sure.
It's very red and very, very, very alien looking.
What?
Oh, he's gone. Something on me. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
if Lonky's on or not or watching, but Dick Imoff, he fell again, and he was in the hospital today. So I guess he is not going to the Nats. So I was going to tell Mike, but
man,
he went over to his daughter's house to pick up his grandkids, and either he fell 4 foot off a porch or he fell from a 4-foot porch.
Oh crap!
So
did he land in bushes or on the ground or what?
I don't know. He said he didn't break any bones, but he's got a huge, lump in his back, and he can't set up or anything. So,
Oh God! I know from experience.
Who was that?
I know from experience it takes a long time to recover from a fall too.
Yeah.
Dick Imoff.
Dick Imoff?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's terrible.
I know from experience it takes a long time to recover from a fall too. It's tough.
Well, last year he didn't tell anybody, but he knew he had cancer, and he waited till after the Nats to have it taken care of. And then he's made it through all this, but now he's into this falling. And I don't know if it's from the chemo, if he's lost his balance, whatever. He thinks his legs are weak, but he keeps falling.
It's probably all of that, all of the above. So that's just, I mean, getting old sucks.
Absolutely.
I'm here to testify.
Not for wimps, huh?
But we can still build and fly airplanes, or so we can build them anyway. Some of us can fly them.
Yeah.
We can talk about how great we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure can. And we can act like we're still great when it's just us old geezers in here.
Yeah. I'm going in on Wednesday. They're taking a biopsy on a cancer squamous cell behind my knee.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you use to wear shorts a lot or something, or what?
You know, yeah, when I was working drywall finisher, you know, I work in houses in the middle of summer. There's no refrigeration.
Oh yeah, it's hot as hell in a construction site.
And I'd be sanding that drywall. And back when I started, it drywall had asbestos in it. And I can't get any doctor to, you know, because all of that that I've had removed have been from my shirt sleeve down onto my hands, the back, my neck here, on my ears, forehead, right in this area, and now it's on my legs below where my top of my shorts were. All the places where that dang dust got packed and layered up on me. And it's been about 30, 35 years, which is about what it takes for asbestos to cause cancer. So they were trying to say, well, it's because you used to go to the beach a lot. Well, why don't I have it on this part of my body?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's all where I was exposed to that dang dust. So I can't get a doctor to say, yeah, that's what it is. Then I want to go out on a, you know, so I don't know.
The asbestos would still be there. Can't they cut, instead of burning it out, can't they cut it out and look at it under a microscope?
They'll cut it out, but you know that when the fibers were in the mud, and then when you sand it, you know, you break it down to where it's microscopic.
Yes.
Oh.
You know, it's like a dust, and of course it sits on there all day until you can wash it off with the water you got there, but it's got, you know, it's not clean water, and so it waits. You have to wait until you get home and take a shower, and you know that should take it off. Anyway, so
thank goodness dope didn't turn out to be that bad for us, or we'd have a lot of modelers falling out. I didn't quite get the paper on the Hyper Viper this weekend. We went over to my son's house, so Saturday I didn't work in the shop, and so I don't know. Maybe this week I can get that thing. I kind of got the bug now, so get out there, get that wing finished. I want to see what my first silk span wing is going to look like.
Hey Charles,
and I got
a bunch of eyeballs looking at me, and it's scaring me. I'm getting very, very how would I say anxious here. What is in that plastic container underneath that red wing that looks like a bunch of eyeballs staring back at me?
Yeah, it look like malted milk balls to me. That's are you talking about Charles's shop?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
There's a plastic like Tupperware container that's behind you.
Yep, and it's got a file folder or something on top of it.
Eyeballs looking at us.
It's got a file folder on top of it.
The red, Charles. Something red in there.
It's got a yellow. You're looking right at it. To your right a little bit. Look to your right.
In the black frame.
Sitting on top of the three black stacked trays. Keep going. Keep going. It's the next container you come to. There you go. That's it.
That's the one.
What's in that container?
This box here?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one. What's in there?
No, underneath that, Carl.
No.
Oh, in the plastic part that we can see through.
The clear container.
This here?
The other one.
No, the one you just took that box off the top of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meatballs?
Curious minds got to know.
It's malted milk balls, isn't it?
It's my scrap balsa wood.
What?
That's balsa wood.
That ain't no balsa wood. It's malted milk balls.
No, the one the one that was sitting on.
No, the one underneath that.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know there was two boxes.
Oh, yeah.
It's another box. Is all that is.
Yeah, what's that?
This one's balsa wood. And this has a scrap plywood.
Okay.
Okay.
It was the covering that was throwing them off.
It's the words. Yeah, it's the covering on the outside. It was an optical illusion. Because we thought it was a big, clear box. We didn't know it was two boxes. That's what we thought was malted milk balls. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I got sorted balsa wood in here, just scrap. So,
Well, that's not as
This is a balsa.
that's not as much fun as malted milk balls.
I'm just glad you weren't collecting.
I didn't have it on the box. I didn't have it says plywood in case I get senile.
You gotta remember, you gotta hope you can still read when you get senile.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, is there anybody on the YouTube channel that's good with newer cars?
Newer cars. Yeah, we probably. Well, let's see. We got not really.
What do you
Well, we don't have anybody but Jack Snavely and Phil Bailey and Jeff Riley. That's about the whole crowd. Mike Leinke was out there for a while, but I don't see him
If you need
lately.
your car painted, you can talk to Riley.
Well, I gotta paint it, but
We got Dennis B is out there. Okay.
What's crazy is that I got it back tonight from getting the brakes fixed. I had a line that was leaking. So I did that. So I take the car out. When I got it, when it's cold, it runs great for like 40 seconds, I say. And then it'll start to miss or hesitate. Once you get it moving, it tends to run better. Well, my phone wasn't working. I thought it was the phone, but I guess all carriers were down today or something. So I drove about 25 miles to T-Mobile. Well, going down the expressway, it ran good. It always does. I get off the expressway. This thing ran so good. There was no hesitation, nothing. I drive it to T-Mobile, stoplights, all that kind of stuff, great. Pull up T-Mobile, shut it off, go in, talk to them for about 10 minutes. Came back out, tried to start the car. That son of a bitch missed and bucked and quit.
Ding, ding.
I thought I was going to have to tow it home. I finally got it going. And it started running good again. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I stopped at Harbor Freight to try to get some sandpaper for my sanding deal. Same thing, about 10 minutes, went out there. That car would not start. I finally got it going. I got it home. And it has that hesitation, but I'm just beside myself how a problem can go away and come back. Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen. May not be the answer to your situation, but what happened to me was similar. It turned out it was the throttle body, the fuel, the injector. The injectors were going bad on me, and I eventually had to have that fixed. But I was clear up at Tri-Cities up in Oregon, up at a model airplane contest. I got about 3/4 of the way there when all of a sudden it started acting up like that. And I had to drive it all the way back home like that.
Oh, okay.
So, but
Yeah,
you might
maybe.
want to check your throttle body and your injectors.
I put a new throttle position sensor on it because that's what on Google they said, oh, it's that throttle position sensor. Well, it wasn't that. And
Okay.
I cleaned the throttle body. I've done this and that and everything else and put a couple $100 in it. So I guess I'm just going to have to make an appointment with Honda to see what the shit is going on.
It'll
Not
save
mine.
you money in the long run.
Now, Steve, when you cleaned the throttle body, did you clean the map sensor?
No.
Try that, because that map sensor gets dust on it, and it affects the and it's even the cleaner, the spray cleaner is kind of expensive. You have to buy an aerosol can of map sensor, and be careful not to touch the map sensor, and you spray it with the map sensor cleaner, and you'll be surprised how much better it'll run. And actually, we're supposed to clean the map sensor whenever you change your air filter. So as often as you change your air filter, you should spray the map sensor.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
I see that them things are real expensive because I thought about changing one out, but I'll just change it. And then I seen that was like $200 and some, and I thought, maybe I just won't change that until I find out.
Just try cleaning it. It's just a really sensitive sensor. Like I said, you don't want to touch it, and just spray with the proper aerosol. Don't use carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. You have to use the map sensor cleaner.
But that's what I kept saying, is that it's like a sensor that not reading right, and when the car warms up, it tends to be okay. You shut it off for a little bit, and it has to reprogram or something. But on that throttle body, it's got 2 lines that goes to it and runs antifreeze through there, coolant. So it heats that throttle body, but I thought that was for the winter time so it didn't freeze up. But maybe that heats that sensor up or something too. I don't know how exactly they work.
And then on the opposite end of that would be the O2 sensor.
Yeah.
That you would replace. I don't think you can clean that.
Oh, okay.
O2 sensor. Does it throw a code?
Yeah.
Did your light come on?
Yeah, it throws a code of multiple misfires all the time.
Oh, really? Oh, no, that's totally different than if it's multiple misfires. Then that most likely would be, and this in my case, my 2 vehicles, my Cadillac and my Blazer, had that, and I had to figure out which cylinder it was, and it was the injector for that cylinder.
Oh, okay. Because it comes up with every cylinder misfires.
And it could be the coils. I don't know if you have.
It could be your coil packs.
Separate coils. Could be coils, spark plug, or injectors. Well, those 3 things cause misfires.
The thing is with the throttle body, you don't have an injector for each cylinder. So,
well, I guess I could put a new coil. It has a distributor. It's an electronic ignition, but there is a coil inside that distributor. And I replaced the plug wires. I replaced the cap, the rotor, spark plug.
Steve?
Yeah.
You could piecemeal it like this, hunting for it until you find it, and it'll probably cost you more money than if you took it to Honda and had them do it, because they're trained in that. They've got the good machine to get the good codes. You'll have a better chance. Find out what they did so that you know what to do yourself the next time. I used to chase, when I was a kid, I used to chase things like that, and I'd spend $100, $200 what it wound up being was a $25 part.
Yeah, that's why I figure it's something simple, and I really don't know. Online it said it could be a partially clogged catalytic converter too.
That's expensive.
But it seems like it'd be that way all the time. It wouldn't go away and come back if it was partially clogged. Unless if they heat up, they work better or something. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll just take it to Honda and figure out. I thought I could figure it out.
Well, given time and money, you probably could, Steve.
Yeah, I know it. But I mean, it's like, it seems to be something pretty simple, and it runs so good sometimes, and then just takes a crap.
Yep.
And that's a pain in the butt chasing those things. I've done that because sometimes I have more time than money, so I'll figure it out.
You know that Torino that I brought in and showed you, that is a hoot to fly. It looks like a toothpick out there on the end of the lines. It's so skinny,
Yeah.
And you saw one fly, didn't you, Charles?
Yeah, at VSC, sure did.
And they fly pretty decent, actually. But when you're in there, you're looking down the lines at that thing, and you got this toothpick out there.
Yeah.
It's strange. it took me a bit of time and effort to get used to that picture of that plane out there.
Well, you know, even flying the Olympics, I find it took a while to get used to the Olympic because of the twin rudders hiding the elevator. It took me a while to get used to that because I couldn't see the elevator when I was taking off, and I had to kind of go back and forth trying to get to see where the elevator's at. And then someone told me, "Well, look at the flaps." And I said, "Oh, why didn't I think of that?" You know, but
yeah,
different things like that.
Well, I always wanted a twin boom airplane. I thought when the Gobble Swans come out and it won the Nats way back when, I had the article there and I wanted to build one, but those were the days when I couldn't afford to buy that much balsa at one time. My paper route just wouldn't support it. So,
she has lot of friends.
What are we hearing?
You got me.
I don't know.
I was busy typing and realized something was going on in the background. Oh well.
Anyway, so I finally got my twin boom, and I had a guy fly it. Actually, Mark Lipinski flew it for me.
Oh wow!
See what it looked like in the air, you know, the twin booms, and that really, it's really different in the air.
Yeah, it's a good flying plane.
How do I adjust my microphone? It keeps coming up saying that I got some kind of something on it, but I don't see anything for microphone.
Some kind of something. I don't know.
Some kind of something.
Huh? Background noise.
I just realized I was muted.
Says I got
if it says your microphone appears to be noisy, I get that all the time.
Me too. I just turn it off.
I get it all the time too.
Yeah, I just click it.
And again,
takes it off of it.
I don't do anything. I just ignore it.
Well, you guys were hearing stuff, and that was coming up, and it's like, okay, what's going on?
You don't have your TV on or anything, do you?
No,
Because that's what it sounded like. It was a woman's voice.
Yeah, it did sound kind of like a TV or something in the background. It was probably crosstalk.
Yeah.
Or co-channeling, as we called it back in the radio days.
Hey, Charles, did you do any flying this weekend?
I did do some flying Friday, just a little bit. I flew. This friend of mine built this trainer for me, where it's a foam wing, and it's rubber band to a basswood plank fuselage with an upright engine, and it's really docile in the air. And I commissioned him to build one for me because he's made 2 or 3 other ones, and I thought it'd be neat to have for when I have visitors come up and they think it's so neat. I wanted something they could fly, so I have this now in my car, or my Blazer, I should say, so that when I have visitors and if they want to fly, I'll have something they can fly. Hopefully relatively easy. It's easy to fly, but I'm a really poor judge of what is an easy plane to fly because, I can just kind of settle in and fly just about anything. And but I think it's easy to fly. It can't loop.
Put them up in your figure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that I know is not easy to fly, but this plane, I forgot what it's called, but my friend got some plans years ago, but I don't have it with me to show you. So I flew that, and then I just was running my new Stalker 81. When I got the Stalker 81, it did not have any directions or anything. It just
they never
box wrapped up with plastic wrap or in a Ziploc bag. And so I just been running it on a bench, letting it cool down, giving it plenty of time to cool down, and I just run it long enough to get to operating temperature, about 2 or 3 minutes, and shut it down, let it cool down, and keep doing that over and over again. I'm not sure when it's ready to be put on the plane.
When it holds the needle setting.
Oh, it's doing that now.
Then it's ready.
All right. Good. I'll put that in my Strega. In white Strega.
Take it out. Yeah, take it out. Try it out. See if it holds the setting. Your flight setting on the Strega as you're going through the pattern. If it acts a little tight or kind of drops power a little bit, put it down level, land it, put a couple more of those warm-up runs, break-in runs on it. But as soon as it'll hold the setting and hold it without a problem, that it's ready.
Okay, yeah, it's running. It sounds so beautiful because I've never had a new Stalker 81, and because when I have my red plane is I'm the second owner of it, but this one I'm the first owner, and it's nice. It's I can't wait to fly, and I got some props from Rushland also, some special props designed for the Stalker 76. A little over 14 inches and a little over 6-inch pitch.
Yeah.
And it's made out of some exotic wood.
It's funny because stalkers have seemed to, at one point, everybody said, well, the 76 is okay, but that 81, they just, I don't know. When I first got my stalker, people didn't know how to run them. And they were always trying to run them like like a Nelson or something like that, and they don't run that way. And so they got the reputation real quick that the Stalker 40s were weak and didn't have enough power or whatever, and that the 46s, well, they actually quit making the 46s, but the 51s were great. 51s were great. Well, they are good, but some of the 60s were not any good. The 66 was good, the 76 was good, and the 81 wasn't. Well, that's, in my opinion, that's BS. They're all pretty darn good. I've got 3 or 4 40s now, and I've been running them. I've been running them like I always run them, like I've explained to you. And, I'm hauling around, let's see, what do I got? On the All-American Eagle, that's a 620 square inch airplane. And I'm hauling that with a Stalker 40.
Wow.
No nitro, 17% oil, and it's one of my best flying airplanes. So anyway,
I'm sold on Stalker 81s. It's my favorite motor. I take it over the K77 any day. K77 is a good motor, but the Stalker 81 is more powerful.
Yeah,
I have a Strega with the K77 and a Strega with a Stalker 81, and I prefer the Stalker 81. They both are beautifully running motors. I mean, don't get me wrong; they both run really nice.
Right.
It's not like the Stalker walks away from the 77, but I just like the Stalker 81 over the K77.
You got just a little more grunt in the bottoms.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I like about it.
Yeah.
And
I'm out of here tonight early, guys. I got in late.
You were barely here at all, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Is it something we said?
No.
Apparently, it's what we didn't say.
From no power to getting stuff back going, and then the car problems and.
Oh yeah, and car problems that make you exhausted, and it's just frustrating when you just emptying your wallet and you still haven't fixed it. I've been there so many times, and my wife has seen me, and she's like, "It's still not fixed." And I go, "No, it's still not fixed." And I spent whatever dollars I spent today. And
I'm redoing boat seats and stuff on a rowboat, wood seats, and I got some spar varnish. Oh, I can't get it to dry right. I don't know if I put it on too thick, but I'm playing with that. It turned into some kind of rubber on part of it. And I think it's more like if anyone's did a gun oil finish on a gun.
I've done that.
It's like that. It just doesn't want to dry. It's tacky right now. It's supposed to be a hell of a shine, but it ain't shining, and so I just think that
Humidity.
I got too much. I got it too thick. It said to use 4 coats.
Steve? What's the material you're covering? Is it the old seats?
No, it's new ones.
It's new ones.
Yeah, I cut some new seats and everything, and it's giving me fits. So everything's giving me fits right now.
I feel for you. I feel for you, bud.
We wanted to go flying today because Pat had the day off, but the wind blew like 20 miles an hour all day long, so he couldn't go flying. Couldn't get the car going. The boat piece weren't drying. I'm like, son of a.
Oh, that is a frustrating day.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel for you.
Yep. Well, I'm out of here too, guys.
All right.
Okay, Eddie.
See you Friday.
See you guys.
See y'all Friday.
See y'all.
Bye.
I'm gonna get ready to bounce myself.
Who's that?
I'm getting ready to bounce out.
Oh, well, looks like we're about to wrap. Well, this was a good show tonight. We stayed on topic all night long and didn't have any technical difficulties, which is unusual. This is working well tonight, so appreciate that. Well, all you guys, fair winds, tight lines, and who all staying? We got John, Peter, and Gary, and me.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys later.
Take care.
Okay, man. Have a good week.
Oh, God, everybody's dialing.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, we're the diehards tonight.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Peter?
Yes.
You need to finish that Pathfinder LE.
No. I'm starting other projects at this point.
Someday you need to finish that. That is such a fine. The one I have is such a fine flying airplane. You know, I don't know, but I know the design, as Gordon put it out, was good.
Yeah, we were discussing elevators and everything like that. I'm just like looking at it, and I was looking at the one that was posted for it. So it's airfoiled elevators, airfoiled stab, and even even tapered flaps.
Yep.
And it is no fun tapering flaps or elevators or anything like that.
You're right.
Ultimately, what I ended up doing is finding a piece of tubing that was a certain diameter to put against the leading edge, and then a certain size music wire to put against the trailing edge. Somehow affix that down to the building surface, and then sand the angle.
Yeah, I know. I did that too. It had a big pile of sand. The nice thing about that big pile of sanding dust you got there, you scrape that up, put it in a jar, and then when you mix up micro balloons, you mix in some of that balsa with it.
Oh, jeez.
And now your fillets almost look like balsa wood there.
Yeah, but do you know, I despise sanding. I was like, how do I get the paper on this? I have to now stick two pieces of different diameter dowels on it. Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, and then you use the same diameter on the leading edge, but you start with this, what is it, a 1/4 inch on the
can't
back,
remember now.
and then you go down to an 1/8 inch when you flip it over, so you get a proper taper. Yeah, but it pays off in the end. It does. You just can't buy the wood tapered like that.
I'm sorry.
You can't buy the wood tapered like that. And when you build the Spirit of Saginaw, I don't know if it's set. I don't remember if it's set up the same way or not.
I hope so. I hope it's got the standoffs on the bottom, so you can just do it on a flat surface and don't have to try to figure out how to jig it up.
I don't remember. A long time ago that I drew those. I like to do the standoffs because that gave people a chance, you know, to build it on a flat table.
I'm gathering, if Brodak did it the proper way, then they do have the standoffs on it because of just about all their kits are that way.
Well, they also like to use a thing called a leveling bar, and what that does is you pin the bottom spar in place, and then you set the leveling bar, and they'll put an outline of where the bar goes because of the taper of the wing, and then you lay your ribs in there, and that holds the whole. It actually works quite well. I did it on the Cardinal.
Yeah, my Cardinal's got that, and I've read it in the little booklet about 20 times, and something's just not quite clear. But I know when I dump the wing parts out and start on it, it'll become obvious.
It is a really, you know, for you're talking about Stone Age technology, but it does work, and I built mine that way, even though I have a nice jig and everything. I wanted to see how it worked. Now you got me wondering on that setting.
I gotta level my class again.
I wouldn't sweat it too much. It'll be what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I just remember when I was building the Brodak 40, that wing was so easy to put together because it did have the standoffs at the bottom, and it just everything, you know, as long as your work surface was flat, that thing went together like in no time at all.
Well, here's one you'd like. The little Ellie, the one I designed. It's actually based on the Pathfinder LE. It has a different wing, different ribs, things like that. But it's somewhat similar to it, but it's for a 15 to 25 size airplane, and it uses the same wing construction as Gerke used on the Novice, which is a faux I-beam. You've got an I-beam in there, and you got full ribs, and they're set up and they're cut so that they slide in to the I-beam, and you have to put them in place before you can glue the top and bottom cap of the I-beam on, because they taper. So, but you've got a spacer anyway. When you get all done, you got a tip plate and everything else on there to get it all leveled out. When you get it all leveled out and everything's in place, then you take the glue, the CA with one of those little, fine little thing on it, and you just kind of get the CA in the right place and glue it all together. Actually, when I built mine, by the time I had it all together, even with no glue in there, you could put your finger on that spar and try to push it down, and you couldn't. I mean, it was strong, and it wasn't even glued. And so when you glue it, it is extremely strong. So that's one that you don't need to have the tabs on it, because you got the tip plates like you have on an I-beam, and you got the fuselage there as the other end. It keeps it all pretty well straightened out.
And that was the discussion that we were having earlier about those carbon fiber tubes. I don't know. He may have better luck getting CA to kick against something does not have any moisture in it. But I've had absolutely no luck getting CA to kick against something like a five. You know, it'll kick against the balsa because balsa does have some amount of moisture in it. But CA does not have any moisture. I don't know how he does it without using epoxy of some sort.
I've glued carbon fiber tubing and stuff like that, and CA kicked off really good on. I have on my biplane. I actually built it kind of like I've got a carbon fiber tube mounted in the wing, the larger diameter, and I got a smaller diameter through the fuselage, and I just slide those in. They're glued in, in the wing. They slide in on the fuselage because they can only go so far in the wing. And anyway, it's a take apart. You put it together as a full wing and then bolt it onto the airplane. But you can take it apart, split them apart, so you can stack it in a box and travel with it. The stab and elevator come off, so you can get it in a pretty small box. The point being, though, is I used a lot of carbon fiber tubing on there, and I went too big a diameter, so I had too much weight added to it because of that. But nonetheless, I didn't have any trouble with the CA gluing it. It glued it very strongly.
Okay. I've historically had problems trying to CA plastics or other material that has absolutely no moisture content in it whatsoever.
Plastics will not glue with CA. They just won't. But the
part of
carbon
CA's
fiber,
curing process is moisture too.
Yeah, that's and balsa definitely has some moisture content to it, but usually any hard substances.
well, the carbon fiber is not a plastic like you take a lid off of a margarine tub. That it won't glue to that at all, but it will glue to the carbon fiber. It definitely will. I put carbon fiber unidirectional on top of my spars, and then I'll put it on there, and then I'll put a 16th balsa over the top of it, just kind of similar to what he did, and then I'll just wick the CA in there, and it glues them up just tighter than a drum. I've also done something that this will surprise you. Norm Whittle, who's a very good designer and pilot, showed me this technique for putting in the pin type hinges.
Mm-hmm.
What he does is he, of course, he marks and centers everything. But when he gets them ready to go in, he'll fold them over, and he'll either have a little thing with a little bit of oil in it, and he'll just dip the hinge body in that, or he'll have heated Vaseline to where it's runny and that. And then he'll work that in there so it's into the hinge really well. And then he takes little strips of silk span or Dr. paper, whatever, and he'll fold it around the pin, the hinge part that goes in the wood, and then he'll push it in. When he gets it in place, like he'll do the flap first, for instance, and he'll use a door frame, and he'll push it on there and get all of the rib barrels lined up straight up and down, and then when they're lined up straight up, now he takes his CA. Now those hinges are plastic. I don't know what type of plastic they are, but he'll take his CA, and I've done this lots of times, and he'll take and just run it along there, and that paper wicks that CA deep in and around that hinge, and then turn it around, kind of push it a little pressure on it, do it on the other side. Now you got it. You're ready to put it into the wing. You do it the same way, only this time as you push it into place, and then you get it. You can get it straight and because your barrel's all lined up. You don't have any misalignments, or you can avoid misalignments. And then he'll use the C. I screwed up and when I'm putting on an elevator, and one of my legs was hanging down, and so I put it together and I turn it over, and here they're all in except this one that's hanging down. So I just glued it. I think let's see, I got to get this apart. I got to get that back, get that in there. I couldn't get it apart. I could not pull it apart. I wound up having to cut that, and I had to put a new thing in and bend it and put it in, work it in the hard way, because I couldn't get the thing to come apart. Try as I might. I mean, I used a pair of pliers on it, you know, trying to get it out. Couldn't do it.
Okay. This is the technique that I've developed that I've used over the years to do these barrel hinge. These barrel hinges. I don't use any epoxy on the hinge itself. If you can see, hold on, let me get backing off a little bit. You see the little hole, that little round thing right there?
Or you pinned it with a toothpick.
Yes, I turn around and pin them. I do not use any epoxy on the hinge itself.
Right.
What I do on the hinge, though, if I can get it here, what I do is if you can see, I turn around and I cut a little slot. I cut it there, and what I do is I bend that off, and you can see it's got like a little tooth. Oops. Right on that side.
Uh-huh.
And I basically bend the little teeth into it, so when you slide it into the balsa, the plastic is bent, so it actually has a tooth that keeps it from pulling back out, and I pin the other side.
Right.
And ultimately, what I end up having is hinges. When I put them into the airplane, they're like this.
Yep.
They all just flop.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. When I do it with the CA, like Whittle taught me, they'll flop like that as well. So it's just, you know, there's what, 6 or 7 different ways that you can put them in, and whatever turns you on is the best way. That's certainly a good way you're doing there.
And the other advantage of doing it that way is there is some amount of lateral play that is available in the hinge when you insert it on the other side. Of course, that goes away once it's inserted, but it turns around and it kind of helps self-align the hinges when you push it into the stab. And then you can just wiggle it a couple of times, then pop the holes, pin them down, you're done.
Yep. Yep. Hinges are fun. No, they are. You know, it's one of the things. Hinges and control horns are things you really have to pay attention to.
I mean, I've always wanted my flying surfaces that if I turn around didn't have anything connected to the whole control train. I wanted the flaps to flop down and the elevators to flop up just under their own weight.
Yep, that's when you know that there's no drag on your system.
Yeah, that's what I always want. I don't always get it, but that's what I always try for.
Yep. Well, you know, you're going to be able to get that
the equal amount on the trailing edge of the stabilizer or the flap. So when I end up, ultimately, when I end up having to cover these surfaces, I could barely thread monocoat between the hinge line and the hinge line between the stabilizer and the elevator. And then once that's sealed down, I can't get a business card through that opening.
Well, you know, as tight as you could make them, it's still not it's still bigger than a molecule of air.
Oh yeah.
And what we're talking about on sealing the hinge lines is equalizing the pressure. For instance, when you put the elevator down, and now you've got pressure on the underside, and if air can leak through there, it leaks through the other side, and you don't get as much pressure build up underneath there, which can cause you some control problems, especially if one side is a little tighter than the other side. So I always, even as tight as I get it, I always seal my hinge lines, but I don't go over the barrel. I go between the barrel. I leave the barrel free. I don't put it over the barrel because the barrel is already sealing it. The idea being that you just want between the barrels to be sealed.
I'm confused. how do you seal the hinge line where you do not where you do not have any interference with the flap going up and going down? I mean, if you put it on the top and you go down, you follow what I'm saying.
You press it into the groove with I use a bamboo skewer and just lay the tape on lightly and then run it press it all the way to where I make a V-shaped edge on the moving side and just press it down to that all the way down and then lay the other lip against the other surface and there won't be any.
I'm just trying to think of the geometry because if you give it enough tape so there is no tension on it when the flap goes this way, you're going to have, when you put the flap this way, you're going to have excess material somewhere.
That's what, no you don't. No you don't. That's why I push it all the way down to the edge of the V inside. There's
You're
no...
getting it all the way down, almost to the very center of the flap or the elevator. The thing is it...
I don't have the space to do that. Typically on my assemblies, I don't have the space to do. Like I said, I can't get a business card between there.
Well, you can get it down pretty darn close. There's a type of, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a type of clear paint that's used in the medical profession. It's very soft, and you can use that. It hardly puts any drag at all on your system. And you push it in there. You literally push it in there as far as you can get it, and make sure it's sticking on both sides. And you won't have the problem you're thinking about.
This stuff works great for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take a picture of where I've done it, or if I can't get a good picture that shows it, I'll take a little video of me doing it. And you'll see how it is completely free. I can do that. That'll give me something to do out in the shop. A little video.
You know, Peter, the thing is you don't fly competitive, so
no,
you don't need to worry about this. You getting as close, you feel good about it. Those of us that fly competitive, we need to have every bit of help we can get.
Oh, if you're not competitive, there's absolutely no need to seal your hinge lines.
Right. You know, it's important. You know, when I build a plane, I build it certain ways to give me the best advantage in trimming and in flying that I know how to give it. And you know, there's guys that know more and they fly better than me. But yeah, you're basically a super sport flyer, and you've got things that work for you. You've got a good way of doing your hinges. You get them. You're conscientious about it. You get them as tight as you can. No, like I said, no worry. Do it the way you like it.
No, you know, if I was, my philosophy is, if I'm going to spend the time to build an airplane, I want to build it right. And regardless of whether I enter it in a competition or not, I just want to know if I'm getting the most out of that airplane as I possibly can.
Well, just one further word on the sealing. You only have to put tape on the bottom. You don't have to put it on both sides. If it's got barrel hinges in it, then you have to cut strips that go from hinge to hinge. I don't try to cover the actual hinge tube itself.
Yeah, that'll put drag on it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm just not. I've got my tolerance. I've got my gaps where they're almost non-existent. I'm not going to pretty much worry about it.
No, you don't.
Now you just got me interested in demonstrating it now. So,
well, that's fine. You know.
So even if I wanted to enter a competition, I think I'm good. My airplanes would probably be good enough to get into at least into advanced.
Yeah, your planes will be better than you probably.
Peter, I don't know where you would start. You're way past beginner, so you've got intermediate or advanced to start out in.
You need to learn the protocol and how to be at a contest, though. So beginner's probably a good thing for a first contest, just to get the feel of, moving the judges, working your pit guy, not getting other people's lines around your ankles, and how to get up to the line and have it fueled to prime it, and the mantra that I was taught by Larry Wilkes. My first contest was hurry, but don't rush, and get her done.
See, and I think that beginner is a class for people who do not know how to fly the whole pattern yet.
That's me.
It is.
If that's you, then that's beginner.
Yeah, intermediate is beginner for people that do know. Intermediate is.
I've never figured out the clover leaf. I can get through everything else, but I have never figured out the clover leaf.
First few times I did it, I got lost in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, Peter, if you ever decided, there's no problem with you flying beginner. But if you win the first time, they may not kick you up, depending on how many people were you flying against. But if you win it the next time, they'll kick you up.
I have no problems with that. I can pretty much, I know everything, and I can pretty much perform everything. I can never figure out where to start it, where to end it. It just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Somebody should redesign that whole entire maneuver.
The clover is,
I love that maneuver.
It's really simple. It really is. You go up to about 38, 40 degrees, and as you come around to the downwind side, just before you get dead downwind, you start an inside loop. And you do the inside loop, you go up to the
big old inside loop, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you come out at the same 38 to 40 degrees, and then you fly over level for a little bit.
Right, yeah. I have to say to myself, I have to say fly, 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 fly. Else I'll turn too soon.
And then it's like come up over the top. And
but well, after you've done that first loop, you go and you do that first outside, then now you fly straight up level, and you get to the point where you're crossing. You go just beyond that to where you've got the half the radius or the radius of the next loop. Then you start another outside.
A big old outside, yeah.
You come around and you come back.
Fly again.
40 degrees, and you get to that crossing point, and you fly another radius, and you start an inside. And you go down, and now you go straight up and out through the top. Just like a wing. Just like a wing.
It's like I've never been able to figure out that sequence. It's such, at least in my head, it's so counterintuitive.
Well,
I would imagine coming in horizontal, doing this, going down, doing this, going down, doing that, coming up, doing that, and going back out that way.
Well, see, but that's because you did the whole thing wrong.
Yeah.
Look at my hand. Look at my hand now. As you come in, your level, you go up and over, and then now you go down.
Like I said, it's counterintuitive.
You come out. Now you do the outside. Yeah. You come up. You do another outside.
Yeah.
Come over. You do an inside. So on the one side you're doing inside. On the other side of the line you're doing outside. Inside. Outside.
Oh, okay.
Outside, inside.
Oh, okay.
And
now that starts to make sense.
Yeah.
So on the right-hand side of the maneuver, it's insides. On the left-hand side of the maneuver, it's outsides.
Exactly.
Okay. Because like I said, in my head, it's always was counterintuitive. Why would you do a cloverleaf that way? Because if you're driving on the highway cloverleaf does not work out that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now imagine this, because here's one maneuver I always wanted to throw in after the whole pattern was done, and that's an overhead clover.
Oh.
And I won't even show you how I do it, because I don't want to confuse you when we're trying to.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's a tough one.
It's not that tough. It just, what you got to do is get it set so you come out correctly. Because you want to start going this way, and you want to finish the wing overs going out.
Yeah, actually, in a certain aspect, it would probably be easier because you have more real estate in which to do it in.
You're not close to the ground at all.
Yeah.
I always thought the cloverleaf was up in the air.
Well, no. The bottom of those loops are at 4 feet.
Yeah, 4 feet. The two at the bottom.
So when
the bottom loops are
come in and you do your first inside, then you come. Let's see, first inside, then you come over and you do this 4 foot. Come up.
And the tops are at 90.
Yeah, the tops are right up here above your head. Then you come down, and now this inside, bottom's at 4 feet, and you come straight up and out. That's called putting the tail on it. So
it's like your overhead eights. You have a ton of space up there as long as you can hold out on the lines and not try.
The hard thing with overhead eights is hitting your intersections.
Section.
Straight over your head. You know, most people wind up with them out in front a little bit. You know.
Yeah, most people fly them out front.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're flying out front, but they are. Me.
Yeah. So that's a hard thing getting up here. And which one do you do first? Come on, tell me. Up. Oh, you fly this way. Yeah. You do your inside
do
first.
The inside loop first.
Yep.
And then you try to hit your overhead direct, or your intersection directly straight above your head.
Yeah.
And then you do your outside. You try to do it again right over your head. Do the other.
Not turning too soon back here is my problem. Is I always try to go too soon back there.
A lot of people do their intersections like this.
You like an X, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a cross, not an X.
Yeah. When I first learned the pattern, your figure eights were lazy eights.
You turn around and do a bunch of lazy eights over your head, and you can pretty much nail down your AMA eights eventually.
Well, the pattern prior to 1957, there was, I think, 54 or 55. So 54 to 57, they had a pattern that you flew that didn't have a triangle in it, or an hourglass. It had a triangle, but didn't have an hourglass. But if I remember correctly, the horizontal eights were lazy eights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a teenager, and we were teaching ourselves to fly. We had the diagram from model aviation, not model aviation, model airplane news. And I got it all learned, and I was able to fly it. And then 57, they changed the pattern to what we have today. And so I had to learn how to do the AMA loops, or, figure.
Yep. But, if great, and this is when I used to fly, sport, and I used to sit there and show off, is what I would do is Wendy used to go fly dead stick in the wind. I would go out to the middle of the flying field. I would lay down in the circle and would do loops and eights, laying flat on my back, looking straight up over my head, doing, whatever the hell I felt like doing, never actually standing up and following the airplane around in the circle. You want to learn how to get your intersections over your head proper and in the right location? Try doing it that way a bunch of times. Guaranteed you'll get your intersection on top, right on top of you every single time.
Bob Palmer told me what it was like flying stud in late 40s, early 50s, in the old time era. And a lot of contests you go to, you could add extra maneuvers.
Yep.
That you could tell the judge, well, you're going to do 6 consecutive loops or 8 consecutive loops, or you're going to do inverted, 12 inches above the ground, off the ground. All those things you could do it, and you got a lot of extra points for doing these kind of things. In those days, like the Yates dragon. Well, he had a dragon, Madman. The Madman. He's called the Madman. You know why he's called a Madman? Because he flew at 90 miles an hour.
Oh,
like Bob Zambelli does.
He would come over the top, and he'd do not a reverse winger, but he'd come over, and he'd pull out. He'd be that high above the ground pulling out. And that guy, he was good, but that was the style of stunt flying in those days. The lower you could pull out, the higher your score was.
Oh, that's what I thought.
You remember that?
I'm just using this for an example. It's like, when we're sport flying, sometimes you get, like I said, you go out in the field and you get bored. And it's like, what the hell can I do just to liven stuff up? We get 3 guys, 4 guys out in the circle, try to do slow combat. I just go out there and say, okay, I'm not going to spin around in circles for this entire flight. I'm going to take off. I'm going to plop my ass down on the ground. I'm going to lay back. And I'm just going to do everything.
I've always wanted to try that.
I had to do that once because I fell down.
Just like this.
I once fell down. I had the twin flight streak, and I fell down, and I'm laying on my back, and I had to do that very thing because I couldn't fly the airplane and get up.
But you'd be amazed on how ultimately, if you actually put your mind to it, you can actually perfect where your overheads are going to be at any given time, no matter what the hell you're doing.
Practice makes perfect, and if you, like we had a guy here, he wouldn't accept any critique from us. He just knew how to fly better than anybody else. And he'd go out there and he'd practice, like 3 or 4 hours a day, trying to beat Gordon Delaney. And that's a hard act to do anyway. But he practiced all his mistakes till he got them perfect. And you couldn't tell him differently. You try to take him aside and say, look, you need to do this. You're doing this wrong. Oh no, that's the way Wendy does it. That's the way I'm going to do it. Well, Wendy didn't do it that way. It's just what he saw. What he saw.
I would just do it out of pure boredom.
Yeah. But this guy wanted to be a top contender. I mean, you want to try to beat Gordon Delaney. Gordon never really, he won Classic at the Nats many times. And he was in breathing distance of winning the Nats a couple times, but he had problems, equipment problems or whatever. So he's never been really up there, though the top guys respect him because they watched him fly and they know what he's capable of. This guy was local here in Salt Lake, and he wanted to beat Gordon in the worst way, and he couldn't do it. He wasn't practicing right. He could have, had he taken some mentoring, I guess is what I'd call it. He might have got better. Last I heard, he was living in San Francisco, and he quit flying altogether. So
just quit it. Couldn't beat Gordon, so he just threw his planes away and quit.
He could beat intermediate and some advanced flyers, but he couldn't beat many in the expert range. See, out here, if you in the West Coast, if you go through and you get kicked out of advanced and you go into the expert, you are from there on out a bottom feeding pond scum because you got to fly against Fitzgerald, Buck, Walker.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
We got about 10 guys that are national and world champion class. They got somewhat the same problem on the East Coast with Bob Hunt and a couple of it. Some of those that were really.
We got Derek Barry who can do it, and Mike Waldron's getting really good lately too. I don't know if y'all know him.
No,
and so we got a couple of them. Do you know Mike Waldron? Did you say yeah or no?
No, I don't know him. I think I've heard the name, but I don't know him.
His dad's name's Don Waldron. His dad still flies intermediate, not intermediate, still flies advanced, but Mike is getting really good. He can challenge Derek.
Well, that's great to hear. But see, what's happening? What happens is out east, you don't have this. Like we got some really big names and a lot of them out here. So if you go into expert, you got to beat them to win.
Yeah.
Because they go and I'll be honest with you, you better do lots of practicing if you want to beat them because they are good. You take Fitzgerald. How many times has he won the Nats? And how many times has he?
I don't know. I've watched him fly up close in person because he comes to Triple Tree, and so I've had the pleasure of seeing him fly.
It's fun watching him go into the reverse wing or over it, isn't it?
I can't believe how he pulls out, how he squats down and flies the overhead eights, and any of those where the pullout's behind him, and he does not turn around to pull out back there. He's just got the most extreme squat that I've ever seen.
Watch it when he throws his leg around when he's coming into the reverse wing over. He throws it around like a ballet dancer.
Oh, look, I got a couple of his videos that I've filmed actually on my camera, so I'll take a look at them.
Yeah. And then, Brett Buck is Brett, I met Brett 25 years ago, and Brett is a heck of a nice guy, very smart, very accomplished. He's flown one design since I've known him.
Yep.
Is Brett Buck's Infinity. And about every 3 or 4 years, he builds another one. And he very carefully adds in anything that he has learned or seen or he feels might improve his design. And so it's been improving over 20 or 30 years. They used to tease him because he had big, wide, tall fuselage, big elevators and flaps, and not elevator, stab and elevator, wing and flaps. They used to call it 4 billboards flying in formation. But I'll tell you what, he's a difficult man to beat. Yeah, Fitzgerald could beat him. Fancher used to be able to beat him. Walker could beat him. Well, I don't know about now. I don't think Walker's flying as competitively as he used to. But I've been advanced primarily. I'm still advanced primarily because of my accident kind of put the kibosh on me.
Yeah.
Very much for a while.
Yeah. They're toy airplanes, John.
Say what?
They're toy airplanes, John. When you get right down to the nitty gritty, they're just toy airplanes.
Well, yeah, they are.
But they're serious toys.
Yeah, they are. But ultimately,
well, yeah.
It was saying, these are the guys that almost treat it as a profession. I recall Les McDonald doesn't fly anymore, and I remember going back a couple of years ago. He was working at a hobby shop in Fort Lauderdale in Florida.
Yeah.
And I went down there with a buddy of mine, and we met Les McDonald. It's like, oh, gee, Les McDonald, you designed the stiletto. You won national champion. You were everywhere. How come you're not flying anymore? And he said, I don't fly anymore because I can't just go out and fly. If I turn around and I want to go flying, I have to be the best the better than anybody else. And he says, it ruined my marriage. It ruined my life. I got so involved in it that it basically overcame everything else. I don't want to go there again.
Yeah, I know guys like that.
Yeah.
I know
Hey.
guys like that.
I got
Donald.
Well, I've stayed. My best flight I ever put up was like 537 points, I think, and that was a one where I just got inspired and I did everything the way I'd been told to do it. I counted cadence. I called out. I verbally called out what my next maneuver was going to be before I did it. You know, and then for instance, if it was a square loop, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. And you know what that does for you? If you got the cadence right, you don't have to worry about hitting the ground.
No.
Because if you started at 4 foot and you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, that 4 will be at 4 foot.
So I guess you have to adjust your cadence every trip to the field depending on the wind speed and all that kind of.
Well, yeah, the first time you do it, you start it. Your first number is when you first pull up.
Yeah.
When you get to the 45, that's 2. So it's 1.
Yeah. Start
2,
committing it to memory
3,
then. Yeah.
4. You know.
I've never tried that. Maybe if I get back to flying, maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, once you get your airspeed, once you get your lap time down to where it's consistent, and you know how fast your airplane is going to fly at any given point, yeah, it's just a matter of timing.
Well, that's why musicians seem to find it easier to be top grade pilots, because they're used to a cadence in their head.
Uh-huh.
And so
there's a lot of musicians in this hobby too.
Yes. The key for me was to mentally tell myself by calling up, I'm okay, reverse wing over. Okay. And I do that before I get to it. So I know there's no doubt in my mind, I'm going to do a reverse wing over. You know, you don't get one they say, oh, what was I doing here? You know?
Yeah.
You know, you ever done that? Sure.
Yeah, yeah, right. Do I pull out inverted or do I pull out?
Usually when something blows you out of sorts and you make a comeback, save the plane, and then you're like, what was I just doing? What's next? You know, that's the only time. Hey, listen, guys, this is my favorite thing to talk about, but unfortunately, I'm about to face plant.
We've been waiting for that, Rusty.
I wish we could get into these stunt technique discussions early, but it seems to be a late night thing.
Well, stunt technique, when you got a whole bunch of people, every one of them, like Peter and I have different ideas about what to do.
Yeah.
Every one of them will have a different idea, and it's hard to have what we're doing now with a whole bunch of people. But when you get down to like 3 or 4 or 5 people the most, then you can talk about it, and you're not talking over each other. You know, so that's why this type of discussion usually happens late.
Yeah, it's more of a juggling act when there's 15 people in here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, dudes. Y'all were great tonight. We stayed on topic, and we didn't have technical difficulties. We had we had sparse YouTubers, but they kept up their own conversation going pretty well out there. So appreciate all you guys out there on the tube coming in. All of you who are going to be watching the reruns, remember the link to the reruns is always posted in the comments below the video, right down there. And I guess that's about it. So until Friday, we'll be back, same bat time, same bat channel. So, okay, fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all Friday. You three can sit out here and talk as long as you want, but old Uncle Rusty is shutting it down for the night. So
Well,
Good night.
Uncle Rusty, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I'm going to leave too, guys.
All righty.